43, 26, 3, and now match 6. The numbers are 24, 20, 5, 10, 29, 16. Thanks for playing the Pennsylvania Lottery. Benefits older Pennsylvanians every day.
Hey guys, welcome to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. There is so much to talk about all around the world, and we're going to get into all of it. We're going to try to bring you out anytime we see live pictures of something big happening around town. We'll try to tell you what information we've got on it and what's going on there. And in addition to that, we'll of course be talking about the Iran war. It was a beautiful day for people who trade stocks. So, you know, we'll talk about the market, what we're expecting and anticipating Iran, Israel to do in the near future. And then, of course, you're also taking a look at some video. Our chopper flew over a situation. We heard that a garage partially collapsed, and we'll be able to talk pretty soon to one of our reporters who's been checking in on this situation all day, whether or not anybody could be injured or compromised in this situation. We're hoping to get those answers from her pretty soon. But again, my name is Judea Murray. If this is your first time streaming with me on Philadelphia Live, I'll let you know how things go here. So first of all, this is not your traditional newscast. We break things down in a much more relaxed way. So as you can see, we're streaming right now on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. You might even be joining us and looking at some of our stories on Instagram. And so if you like what I'm talking about, or you got a question, you want me to ask something to a reporter, or maybe I'm just not touching base on a story that you want to hear some more about, you can let me know in real time in our live chats. It's pretty cool. We've got a couple of people already joining us on TikTok. You guys, let me know where you're watching from, just in case anybody's not from Pennsylvania, not from New Jersey. Where in the world are you watching us from? This is going to be pretty cool. I'll let you know a little bit about myself while we wait on some of our stories. Again, my name is Judea. I'm Judea Murray on all social media platforms. I'm live for you right now from Philadelphia, but we're going to be talking about a little bit of everything. And that's just in a nutshell, you know, what we've got going on here, what we do, and who I am. But let's dive headfirst into a breaking news story that has been developing throughout the afternoon. Our Shawnette Wilson has been learning more about this garage that partially collapsed and whether or not anybody was compromised in this situation. I want to get right now out there live to her. Shawnette, earlier they had a press conference where they kind of addressed this, but they didn't give us that much information. What have you learned about this since you've been put on it?
Hi, Judea. We're giving you, this is obviously a live look at the scene still happening here on the 3000 block of Grays Ferry Avenue. We are still waiting for another press briefing, a news conference, which we believe will be with the Fire Commissioner Jeffrey Thompson of the Philadelphia Fire Department to get the latest on what is happening here. As you mentioned, when he spoke to the media on the scene earlier this afternoon, we didn't get a lot. You know, he pretty much just told us that, you know, this was another tough day here in the city, and that, you know, they were super focused right now on this building, this parking garage, because of the partial collapse. Obviously, the building is not stable. It is compromised. And so going in there to do any sort of search, any sort of rescue, anything is a major concern, because the fire commissioner expressed that, you know, a top priority is making sure that, you know, the people who are going to be carrying out any sort of search and rescues, that they will be safe going into this building. So here's what he told us earlier this afternoon about what next steps are as we move throughout the evening and the night.
Good evening, everyone. Fire Commissioner Jeffrey Thompson. Another tough day in the city of Philadelphia. A little after 2 p.m. today, we received calls of the collapse of a garage under construction at 30th and Grays Ferry. Arriving units did notice a garage that was partially collapsed. We began search and rescue operations immediately. That operation is still ongoing. This is going to be a protracted operation. The building is a 7-story garage that is under construction. It is compromised. For the safety of my team, we have to stabilize that structure before we can continue our search and rescue operations. We are assembling all the right people to do the work, building engineers. We are fortunate here in the city of Philadelphia. We have some of the best technical rescue experts in the country. Philadelphia is home to Pennsylvania Task Force 1, which is a group of specialty rescuers that are specially trained in this type of rescue. And in fact, right down the street is Squad 47. And most of those members are members of PA Task Force 1. So we have the right people on location to get this job done. It's going to take some time because we have to stabilize this building for the safety of everyone involved, especially my rescuers. And it is an ongoing operation. And really right now, that's all I can offer. There will be future briefings where we will provide more information. It's really important to know that we have to ensure the safety of all rescuers as we move forward in this operation. And it's important for the public to steer clear of this area as we continue to work. It's going to take some time because we have to make sure that building is stabilized correctly before we can continue to work in that building. Thank you all very much.
All right, so that was the news briefing in its entirety. As you can see, it was, very brief. The fire commissioner did not take questions from reporters about workers, injuries, conditions. We will say that preliminary reports, Judea, stated, which we received, was that, a worker was removed from the parking garage in what was listed as severe condition. There are a lot of unconfirmed reports right now about a fatality and injuries. Again, we are waiting to hear that directly from the fire commissioner. But just to backtrack over this parking garage, we know that it is 7 stories. I believe that it was slated to, hold at least 1,000 parking spaces. And it was under construction when this partial collapse happened. We have some other video, that we may be showing you, or if we can pull it up, of a protest that happened just back in February. This parking garage has been the source of a lot of controversy over recent months. I will say even as far back as maybe September of the fall of last year, there was a group, No Parking Garage CHOP, that had formed along with a group called Thrive, and they had been protesting the building of this parking garage. Their concerns were that, here in the Grays Ferry neighborhood, there are a lot of underserved people who live here. They had health concerns about construction and the amount of construction, not just with this CHOP garage, but with other construction going on in the area, that it would cause health problems for people, elderly people and young people who live in these sort of urban areas. They were also just concerned about traffic. There is a playground on the other side of this garage. So they had been protesting, and we had covered a protest. They've been protesting this for quite some time. So I spoke to someone from that group just minutes ago, who we'll hear from at 10 o'clock. But she was saying that they are planning another protest tomorrow about this garage. However, now, of course, the protest that they're doing is turned into more of something of, just sadness for what has happened to the workers who were on the site of this building when the collapse happened. So again, there are a lot of different things here at play as we wait to learn more from the fire commissioner as to what happened and the status and conditions of people who were working on the building at the time that this partial collapse happened. But you can see, I don't want to speculate too much about the construction of it, but looking closely at the building, you can see that the floors, even in that middle column, aren't there. And then at the bottom is where you can see some of the rubble. So this building, again, the garage was still under construction. So, Judea, hopefully we'll hear something from officials, throughout the night. We have not had another briefing as of yet. We only had that one, which we played for you. And so we hope to learn more soon.
Okay, Shawnette, just a couple of questions for you, and they may seem silly, but I just want to make sure we're being very clear here for our audience. First and foremost, given that press conference was pretty brief, I think I probably already know the answer to this, but they haven't said just yet what could have caused that situation? All we know is that there was construction underway and then this happened.
Yeah, just that the garage was under construction when this partial collapse happened. And again, you heard the fire commissioner say that his primary concern right now is, this what's left of this structure, and it is not stable. And, workers, meaning rescue emergency workers, cannot do their job in terms of any sort of search and rescue that may be remaining until they determine whether it's safe enough for them to be in or around this structure. So again, without knowing how many people were rescued and accounted for, it's hard to say, outside of what the commissioner said, what the next steps will be. We don't know if there are people who did not get out or who were not removed or rescued. We don't want to speculate on that because, these are people, they have families. But again, there are reports out there that, there were several injuries and possibly a fatality. So that's where it stands right now. We don't know what may have caused that. We don't have a number of people in terms of workers who were in the parking garage, construction workers doing the work. We don't know any of that yet until we hear from the fire commissioner again. But certainly that is what people want to know. So we'll wait to get that information.
Okay. And then, Shauna, one thing that I also wanted to point out, just to give this context, that about 2-minute press conference that we heard took place at around 4:30. It is now 7:11 p.m. here in Philadelphia, and they haven't given us any indication of when they could speak again, just that they would speak again.
Yeah, just that there would be briefings throughout the night, but no times. I'm sorry, there are people walking through the parking lot, kids and their cars moving around, so I'm a little distracted. But yeah, he did not give a timeline of when we could hear from them again, which was kind of like concerning to us because it's not like the area has cleared out, but certainly the people who would be speaking to the media are no longer in view right now. But again, understandably, they have bigger things that they are concerned about, which is seeing what to do with the structure that's left that is not stable. The area, as we heard him say, is blocked off to traffic, and they are still asking people in the area to stay away because it just isn't safe. And it's right across the street from a strip mall, which you can see over here has the Fresh Grocer and a couple other stores. There's a McDonald's in this shopping center, and they were all, to my knowledge, evacuated this afternoon when this happened. So none of these businesses are open, and there's no car traffic immediately, obviously, going along Grace Ferry. I'm seeing some traffic being turned around now at Grace Ferry and 29th. They are trying to get to that back neighborhood, obviously, where there are homes back there, but they clearly cannot go this way, but they are turning onto 29th Street. But they're asking people to just, stay away. We don't know what the situation is, what it holds. It's roped off, but that is, in fact, still a 7-story building that's had a partial collapse. And so we don't know if more of that could come down. So they don't want people in the area because of that.
Okay, completely understood. You know what, shout out to your photographer, Marty, because as he was zooming back, that gave me a chance to see that you were standing right in front of crime scene tape, or at least caution tape, and that lets us know just how large of an area they're trying to keep people out of, which helps us conceptualize what's really happening there.
This tape is probably mostly to keep the media contained, so we don't go roaming around. But but certainly, because sometimes we do things, but we are following rules because this is not a safe situation. But just you can see the tape further in the distance, which would be immediately around that area, securing the building, which even just to the left of the parking garage is another area where there are some businesses, which again those as well were evacuated and closed down. But that tape is the important tape. Where we are was kind of like where they wanted to keep the media for the press briefings.
Got you. Okay. Well, we will be keeping our eye on your camera. Let us know if they do come up, and maybe we can take that press conference live, because as you guys know, we are streaming from 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. So we have plenty of time to get you more information on this very serious situation that is unfolding before our very eyes. Shawnette, thank you so much. Now, I asked where you guys were watching from. We've got Marls and Louie the Wonder Dog from Colorado, FL 500 from Southwest Florida, Rosie Beamer from Missouri, Original Chicken from Pennsylvania. Shout out to you. We've got East Los Angeles, Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma now. Someone says they used to live in Jersey. Thank you so much for still giving us the chance out here, Jack. and a couple of other places too. And while you guys are watching me here on Philadelphia Live, the entire world is watching Artemis 2, making its way through deep space. It has been an incredible couple of days here where we have been making history. 4 astronauts, 3 representing the U.S., 1 representing Canada, making their way to and around the moon, hoping to see if one day more humans could go up there. Maybe we could have a space shuttle or space station out there, and maybe even one day we could go to Mars. I want to check in now with Chelsea Torres, who's live for us from Houston, Texas. Hey Chelsea, thanks for joining us here on Philadelphia Live. What's going on out there, and what have you learned more about this mission?
Sure. Well, today the crew woke up to Under Pressure by David Bowie and Queen, kind of a nod to a lot of the tests that they're still needing to complete while heading back here to Earth. Now, tonight, the crew will need to take control of Orion, and really this is just to test out the navigation and control systems. And I actually got a chance to kind of see exactly how the crew will be able to do that. So here at Johnson Space Center, they do have an Orion mission simulator, and then I got to look at what the Artemis crew will be doing tonight. First, they'll find a target in the view window. For this simulation I'm doing, it's the moon. Then the crew will put Orion in manual and take control to turn the capsule to what's called a tail to sun attitude, which means the tail of the spacecraft will face the sun. Now, I did try to do the same, but let's just say it didn't exactly go very well. But the real astronauts train twice a week in this exact simulator, testing for any situation and emergency that can happen between now and getting home.
We kind of focus on the really dynamic periods, and then we redo them as we redo them. We put a lot of aborts and a lot of really bad things, to really challenge the team to manage multiple failures in multiple systems. Are they going to abort in the Atlantic Ocean? We give them bad weather and say, okay, well, you might not want to abort at this time. Now you got to make your decision to abort at this time.
So we also got to look at the food. The Artemis crew is on board. They're required to eat 2,500 calories a day, and those meals are made right here at Johnson Space Center. They're also taste tested. So yes, this brisket you see apparently does taste pretty close to traditional Texas brisket. The crew has a meal schedule, and they actually have a variety of meals to choose from, but there's no bread because it crumbles easily, so tortillas are usually the go-to. And the meals are mostly ready to eat, so they don't have to necessarily be reheated. Now, the Artemis crew is conducting a major test tomorrow, and that's really just studying and preparing the cabin itself for re-entry procedures. We also heard from NASA officials earlier today during another Artemis 2 press conference, and they said that they already have U.S. Navy divers, crews, and NASA personnel ready out in the Pacific for when that splashdown is expected to happen Friday night. Judea.
Chelsea, when you showed us a look at that brisket, I was a little skeptical, and I'm wondering, one of our viewers, Terry Highland, said they were from Texas. Terry, if you're still with us and you saw that brisket too, what are you thinking? Does it look Texas approved or not? And Chelsea, the other thing I wanted to mention is space food. Astronaut food has always amazed me. When I was a kid, they showed us how they eat ice cream still in outer space. Now, if I remember correctly, it was like almost like a powdery kind of substance, or maybe it was freeze dried or something. Just really interesting how they're able to still get the flavors that we enjoy here on Earth up there in the space for them. This has been pretty cool to watch. Let me ask you, just personally speaking, you've been reporting on this. What has been the most interesting thing you've learned about since you've been on Artemis 2?
I think the most interesting part about it, and it's really all part of this entire test flight itself, is just the different kind of procedures, the different tests that they're constantly doing every single day. So we think, yeah, they're out there and they get to look at the moon really up close and take these wonderful pictures and get audio recordings and annotate, but I think the fact that they're on this vessel out in space, and it's something that none of us, most of us, will ever really get to experience, and they're having to troubleshoot anything that kind of comes their way. Even though they've done these simulations, they've gone through all these different kinds of procedures that could go wrong, still certain things happen, like the toilet mishap that happened the first day. I mean, so many things that they're thinking of, and they have to be the engineers, the scientists, they have to be the plumber, they have to be the electrician, everything on the spacecraft. And I think, to me, that probably is the coolest part.
Thank you so much for sharing. This has been cool to get to learn a little bit more about what they're doing out there today with you. And I did get a response back from Terry, or at least somebody who says that they're Terry, and they says, nope, that brisket was not Texas approved. So Chelsea, thank you so much for sharing with us. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
And Delirious Hag, interesting name that you got there, but asked, does the food taste different in space? And actually, I don't know if you guys know, food actually tastes different even on a plane. And I think that's due to the pressurized cabins that you're in. So that makes me think it probably does taste very much so different when you are in outer space. How it tastes, can't answer that for you because I've never been. And honestly, even if I had this training, I don't think I would want to. I'd be terrified. What about you? Let me know what you guys think. And in the meantime, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to go from outer space to the skies here in Philadelphia and see what the weather looks like ahead with Kathy Orr. We'll be right back. Hey guys, welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray, and look at this gorgeous shot that we have of the city skyline here in the city of Philadelphia. Absolutely gorgeous. And as the sun goes down, I hear that means it's going to get a lot colder throughout the night. But I want to check in with Kathy Orr. She can talk to us a little bit more about that. Kathy, please tell me something good.
I'm going to tell you a lot good, Judea. There's so much that is good in this forecast. Yeah. I mean, we're looking at temperatures that are going to plunge again tonight. And as you mentioned, a gorgeous sunset in the city of Philadelphia as sunset is underway. And temperatures are going to be cooling big time again. Highs today well below normal. We should be in the 60s. We're in the 40s and the 50s. Philadelphia only making it to 55 degrees. And as we go through the rest of the evening, 40s already invading South Jersey. Toms River's at 39. Atlantic City, 33. Like, this is crazy. That's at the airport. So this is what's going to be going on overnight. Temperatures falling below freezing in most locations. Philadelphia right on the cusp there at 33. And you can see toward the shore, the ocean water temperatures preparing us and really keeping it milder right at the beach. But inland, yes, there's concerns for another freeze overnight through tomorrow morning. If your plants survived last night, they'll survive overnight tonight, just because these temperatures will be freeze-worthy, but not quite as cold as they were last night. So starting off cold in the upper 20s, lower 30s, 7 a.m. temps. layer up the kids at the bus stop on your way out the door, grab the winter coat. By the afternoon, it will feel much warmer, so you can take the lining out of that winter coat or raincoat. Temperatures will be in the upper 50s to around 60, and that's where we actually should be for this time of year as far as our averages. There'll be plenty of sun and no wind, so that will seem so much warmer than the past couple of days. Fast forward, if you're going to be traveling, getting a jump start on the weekend, how about Boston, New York, Atlantic City, all uniform in temperature, 60s from Philly south, 70s in Pittsburgh. That's what's coming our way. This warmth is actually building in the central part of the country and moving eastward. And as we go through the next several days, we'll see the whole East Coast begin to warm up. Those yellows and oranges and dark oranges creeping up the coastal plain and warming us up not just into the 70s or 80s, but possibly touching 90 next week. So it's incredible. Want to get out there, mulch the yard, trim the shrubs, get the car washed? Perfect. Dry conditions expected through the weekend into next week. So 60s for Thursday, Friday 71, Saturday 69 as the Phils come home to play some baseball. Sunday's a little cooler, and then the heat is on. Monday 81, Tuesday 89. By Wednesday, we're talking about record-breaking territory in the high temperature around 91 degrees. That is so early for a 90-degree temperature. Many seasons, Judea, in late April, we're just looking to get to 80. We're not even talking about 90s. So this is definitely a taste of summer, and I do think we are going to be in for quite a hot summer coming our way, especially when you see these temperatures trying to break in to our area like this. So since March, we've been talking about 80s, 50s, 80s, 50s, 80s, and now it looks like things are going to get even higher, but then drop back into the 70s, which is still quite warm for this time of year.
Is that Kaylee? All right, thank you so much for a look at our forecast. You know, there are a lot of moving parts here in the studio as we're trying to understand exactly what's happening out there and how cold it's going to be. I heard you say that we need to bring those plants in. This is not the night to play around and forget. So I appreciate you bringing us the latest there, Kathy. And while I have you guys here, first of all, I just wanted to say a quick shout out to Nady Cakes 123. It is always a good time having you here on Philadelphia Live with me. We've got a couple of other new viewers as well. Let me know where you guys are watching us from too. I see a lot of you are still talking about Artemis 2, wanting to know a little bit more about that situation out there. Some of you still thinking that it's fake, and I don't know where that comes from, but we'll chat about it later. I want to bring you a very serious story from New York. Maybe you've heard about this because there are plenty of documentaries about this man, the Gilgo Beach murderers and the Gilgo Beach serial killer. So maybe you know his name, Rex Heuermann. Today, he pleaded guilty in the murders, 7 of those women that he says, yes, I did kill. And he also apparently admitted to an 8th. I want to get right on out to Kaylee Schuyler, who's live for us from New York. Kaylee, what have we been learning about this situation? And then talk to us about why it's so important that today he made that plea, that guilty plea.
Yeah, so this has been a long time coming because Heuermann murdered these women between 1993 and 2011. So today there's finally been some relief for the victims' families because Heuermann is now facing life in prison. And today in court, he remained pretty emotionless as he confessed to strangling these women after years of maintaining his innocence.
You feel it's in your best interest to plead guilty rather than go to trial?
Yes, Your Honor.
And so Michael Brown, I can read this thought to you. So the attorney for Rex Heuermann, he said, a defendant also has an absolute right to change his plea to accept responsibility and enter a plea of guilty. Now, as attorneys, we've counseled him, we've advised him, but that decision is ultimately up to the defendant. So the Gilgo Beach case, it went cold for over a decade. But in 2023, a new homicide task force started looking into Heuermann as a suspect. Police arrested him 6 weeks later, their big break coming after they found his DNA on pizza crust he threw away, and that DNA matched hair found on or near the victims' bodies. Investigators also found a deleted document on a hard drive showing how he planned and prepped for the murders. Police say Huerman lured sex workers to his home and killed his victims in the basement. Some of the victims were wrapped in burlap and then dumped in remote areas around Gilgo Beach on Long Island. And an attorney for Huerman's ex-wife, Asa, and their children say he murdered his victims when they were away, but now Huerman, Asa, and their daughter Victoria are now facing a civil lawsuit from one of the victims' brothers. And they claim that the family profited from a documentary about the case and showed no regard for the victims. An attorney for Asa and Victoria says they're innocent and called the lawsuit embarrassing, considering Victoria was 3 when some of the murders happened. Today, Asa asked for privacy while the family navigates this difficult time.
My thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families. Their loss is immeasurable, and the focus should be on them.
It's bittersweet for them to be in court and hear the defendant plead guilty to the murder of their loved one and the manner of their death. But the truth was important to them.
And at a news conference this afternoon, many of the victims' families walked up to the podium and said that they are accepting Huerman's guilty plea. As for what's next for him, his sentencing is slated for June 17th. Back to you.
Okay, June 17th, that's not that far away. I'm sure there are going to be people even here in my area in Philadelphia who are going to be watching this, because Victoria, that victim that you were telling us about, the mother whose son is now putting out that lawsuit, we heard that she was taken from Philadelphia, or at least that's where she disappeared. So I know there are going to be a lot of people up here, even people who didn't watch the documentaries, who are going to have their eyes on it. Kaylee, as you were listening to what was happening out there and getting this information prepared for us, is there anything that surprised you? Can you just walk us through your journalistic process?
One thing that I thought was interesting today, so Huerman's attorney, Michael, he was asked, when did Rex decide this, that he all of a sudden wanted to change his mind? And he told us that he actually couldn't tell us kind of the timeline, just some confidential information. But something that I did think was interesting, the second attorney who you heard from, Gloria, she represents a lot of the victims' families, and she said that it was last week that they all got together and decided if this is what they wanted to do, they wanted to accept the guilty plea instead of going forward with trial. So I thought that was interesting that a lot of the victims' families were good with this, and they didn't want to sit through trial and have to see and hear all of the evidence about their loved ones.
Definitely, but as you talk it out, it actually makes some sense there too, that maybe they just didn't want to relive their trauma again and again and again. So I get it, but we'll see what comes out with the sentencing. Again, you said June 17th. I got that date right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, June 17th.
Okay, Kaylee, thank you so much. And you guys, while I have you here and while we're talking about this situation, there was a press conference. She got to share a little bit of it with you. I want to play for you just a little bit more if we can, and let you hear exactly what happened after we found out that Rex Huerman had entered that guilty plea.
This defendant walked among us, play acting as a normal suburban dad, when in reality, all along, he was obsessively targeting innocent women for death. He identified these women, lured them into Nassau County, murdered them, and left their bodies in Suffolk County. He thought that by killing them, he could silence them forever and get away with murder. But he was wrong, because it was these victims, these women, who refused to stay silent. First, that silence was broken by the victims' families, who advocated for their loved ones and agitated for justice. Then the noise grew louder through the ensuing investigation and examination of the evidence that the defendant left at or around the crime scenes, as well as on the bodies of the women themselves, that further told the stories of these victims and what had actually happened to them. It was this evidence that ultimately was put together by the task force that proved to be the defendant's undoing and led to the pleas of guilt in today's court proceeding. And it is in this way that these murders were solved. And while we in law enforcement, as well as our Suffolk County citizens, mourn the loss of these victims, we are also grateful to them and to their families, because without them, this defendant would have never been brought to justice and would still be walking amongst us. And he would still be portraying himself as that same harmless father next door, instead of what he is, a convicted murderer. Ultimately, this case is really about these victims and their stories. It is not about this defendant. And I speak for everyone in law enforcement, and when I say we are honored and thankful for being able to have played a small role in obtaining a small measure of justice for these families. For decades, this case stood out as a painful scar on the face of Suffolk County law enforcement, Suffolk County government, the citizens of Suffolk County, and the victims' families as well. However, with the defendant's pleas of guilt today, it means that for the first time since the deaths of these women, we can turn to all of these same people and say, Rex Uriman will be held responsible for the 1993 murder of Sandra Castilla, the 1996 murder of Karen Vergata, the 2000 murder of Valerie Mack, the 2003 murder of Jessica Taylor, the 2007 murder of Maureen Brainerd Barnes, the 2009 murder of Melissa Barthelemy, the June 2009 murder of Megan Waterman, and the September 2010 murder of Ms. Costello. Despite this tragedy, there's a lot of different emotions, and I guess the word for today, despite the tragedy, and despite all those emotions, is thankfulness. We are thankful. We have a lot to be thankful for, despite these emotions. First and foremost, we are thankful for the victims and the victims' families who told their stories, their loved ones' stories, and defended their loved ones' legacies. Without them, we would have never truly gotten to know those victims. My start in this case occurred before I took office. A homicide detective with the Suffolk County PD, Pat Portella, gave my phone number to Melissa and Amanda. Melissa is, of course, Maureen Brainerd Barnes' sister, and Amanda is Melissa Barthelemy's sister. And they spoke with me. We had a really good phone conversation. And during that phone conversation, I heard the pain and frustration in their voices. They wanted answers. They wanted closure. I told them that we were going to do things differently. It was going to be a new manner of doing things. We were going to form a task force, and we were going to bring all of the talents of all these people standing here to bear, and we were going to work together. We were going to not use this case as a political football to be kicked into the news stream on slow days or whenever it suited the political leader's purpose. We were going to be quiet. We were going to pretend as though it was business as usual in Suffolk County. And the reason why we were going to do that was because we knew what we were doing. We were playing to an audience of one. And that one person, of course, was the murderer. We wanted to lure that individual into a false sense of security. We wanted him to think he got away with this. And that was exactly what we did. And the reason why we wanted
you guys, he didn't get away with it because just today he was in court and he did plead guilty. We hear that on June 17th, we're supposed to have sentencing to figure out what will be the fate of Rex Uriman, the Gilgo Beach serial killer. All right, you guys, when we come back, we definitely need to get into the Iran ceasefire deal. What does that mean for the U.S.? What's Israel doing? Because you know they are all connected in this as well. We'll have more on that when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. We got a lot to talk about. You're taking a live look at the White House. President Donald Trump just yesterday announced that there was a ceasefire deal reached between the U.S. and Iran. And let me specify that Israel says that they are not a part of this ceasefire deal. So there's some interesting things happening there. So first and foremost, Israelis have been celebrating the ceasefire, and they're all because of a holiday. This marks the end of Passover, and so tonight they say that they are no longer worrying about running from cover from those Iranian missiles, and this is the first time that this has happened for them in a month and a half, so they are very excited. Meanwhile, we know that at least 182 people have been killed as Israel strikes central Beirut. They say that the Iran truce between U.S. and Iran does not apply to that particular part of the world. So, according to the Associated Press, they launched a bunch of strikes in central Beirut and other parts of the country. They say that this is all while that ceasefire deal between the U.S. and Iran may be a little shaky, because we also heard that Iran has questioned whether or not the U.S. is actually honoring the cease deal that they have put together. At the same time, oil. Oil has been the big thing, you guys, because they're supposed to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Oil prices per barrel has dropped to about $95, which is a huge deal, because I remember just about a month ago we were all shocked when it reached $100. And of course the market has also been responding very well to this, up about 1,300 points at the end of the day. This is a worldwide rally following the ceasefire deal with Iran. Now the Pentagon, they held a press conference a little earlier today. They also answered questions from the media. You're going to hear from Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of Defense, and you may hear from General Dan Kane as well. Let's listen into a little bit of what they said.
Alexandra Ingersoll, One America News. First of all, thank you to our troops. What role is our military playing in escorting vessels through the Strait of Hormuz at this point? And the president said on Truth Social that the U.S. will be hanging around to make sure everything goes well. Obviously, Mr. Secretary, you just mentioned, we know the scars from hanging around in Iraq for decades. But what does that entail in terms of our military presence at this juncture?
Yeah, we'll be hanging around. We're not going anywhere. We're going to make sure Iran complies with this ceasefire, and then ultimately comes to the table and makes a deal. So we'll stay put, stay ready, stay vigilant, as the chairman laid out. Our troops are prepared to defend, prepared to go on offense, prepared to restart at a moment's notice with whatever target package would be needed in order to ensure that Iran complies. As far as the Strait, you saw the initial agreement that was struck, which is Iran's letting ships go through. So they'll be that will be happening. They will be sailing, and ultimately, as the president, we've done an incredible job militarily inside the Strait of Hormuz. What Admiral Cooper, I failed to mention Admiral Cooper's name. He's done a phenomenal job, along with everybody at AFCENT and NAVCENT and ARCENT and all the components down there, laying the groundwork for Iran. Iran doesn't have the same ability to defend it the way they did before, and so as the president has pointed out to the rest of the world, we barely get any of our energy out of the Strait. Just a tiny fraction. It's time for the rest of the world to step up and ensure that that stays open after President Trump and the War Department brought Iran to the place where they are voluntarily opening it right now, as was announced last night. Yes, Jerry.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you both for the update. President Trump posted on Truth Social this morning that there has been a very productive regime change in Iran, and that there will be no enrichment of uranium, and the U.S. will work with Iran to dig up and remove the deeply buried nuclear dust. So I just have two questions here. So both you, Mr. Secretary, and the President have referred to a new regime in Iran. So is this not the regime that was at war with us for 47 years? And what do we think of when we're saying that this is a new regime? What are we thinking and what are we saying there? And then my second question is, with any future deal with Iran, is their handing over of all of their enriched uranium, and they're promising not to enrich any future uranium, a non-negotiable for the U.S.?
Well, it's always been non-negotiable that they won't have nuclear capabilities. And so right now it's buried and we're watching it. We know exactly what they have. and they know that, and they will either give it to us, which the president has laid out. They'll give it to us voluntarily. We'll get it. We'll take it out. Or if we have to do something else ourselves, like we did in Midnight Hammer or something like that, we reserve that opportunity. But what's clear, what the new Iranian regime knows, is they'll never have a nuclear weapon or the capability to get a path to one. As far as the new regime, you heard the list that I read. It's a new group of people who've seen the full capability of the United States military and has a new calculus about what it means to negotiate with us, hence why they came to the table wanting a ceasefire and the shooting to stop. So this new regime, which the regime has been changed, has a different interaction with the U.S. Right here.
Mr. Secretary, thank you.
Of course. I was going in front right here.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary and General Kane. Mary Margaret with the Daily Wire. 2 questions. Iran has said that safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible in coordination with Iran's armed forces and, quote, technical limitations. What do you believe that means? And then we've also heard reports that Iran has continued striking targets well into this morning. At what point are we beyond a grace period? Are we giving them a grace period? Is there a miscommunication there? What's going on with that?
What we know is that Iran is going to say a lot of things. A lot of people are going to say a lot of things, claim a lot of things. What has been agreed to, what's been stated, is the strait is open. Our military is watching. I'm sure their military is watching, but commerce will flow. And that's what you saw the markets react to, is that reality. As far as shooting, that we were monitoring it last night in real time. Of course we are. Iran would be wise to find a way to get the carrier pigeon to their troops out in remote locations to know not to shoot any longer. One-way attacks or missiles, because it takes time sometimes for ceasefires to take hold. We're watching it. We're prepared if necessary, but we hope and believe that it'll hold. Yes.
Thank you, Secretary.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Why are you so rude? Just wait. I'm calling on people.
Thank you, Secretary Hudson. Yesterday in the President's Truth Social, he threatened to wipe out a civilization. That statement elicited a huge response in America. If Iran did not come to the table and make a deal yesterday by the deadline, was the President really prepared to wipe out Iran entirely?
Like I said, we had a target set, locked and loaded, of infrastructure, bridges, power plants. Remember, this is a terror regime, the military regime. Used all of these things for dual use to fund their military, to fund their terror campaigns. We had a lot of legitimate targets. They knew exactly the scope of what we were capable of. We hit some military targets on Karg, which is a bit of a signal. They can't defend it. And so Iran ultimately understood their ability, their future, to produce, to generate power, to fuel their terrorist regime was in our hands, was in President Trump's hands. That's why they came to the table. He ultimately said, we can take it all from you. Your ability to export energy will be taken away. And the United States military has the ability to strike those things with impunity. That type of threat is what brought them to the place where they effectively said, hey, okay, we want to cut this deal.
And, well, yes, they did cut that deal. So for the next 2 weeks, we are expecting to see peace between the U.S. and Iran. We're still waiting to see what Israel is going to do. Of course, we do know that they have still been making some strikes on Beirut today, as I told you before. And with this peace deal, this ceasefire that they have decided was going to work out between them, we know that that means the Strait of Hormuz is supposed to be reopened, which should affect the price of oil. Right now, we're seeing that price barrel down to about $95 per barrel. We were seeing 100 and over 100 just a couple of days ago. But how is that going to trickle down and affect gas prices for you? We'll be talking to Amy Gallo from Fox News about it in just a minute. Well, welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. If the Strait of Hormuz is set to be reopened due to the ceasefire deal between the U.S. and Iran, it should mean cheaper oil prices, and that should mean cheaper gas prices. But we're seeing that this conflict and its impact on oil markets is already trickling down to quite a few different types of people. So we've talked to you all about truck drivers. We've talked to you all about delivery drivers, people who, for a living, drive around and try to bring you the items that you've ordered, like Uber Eats, DoorDash. But what about boaters? Florida's boating community is also seeing that sometimes they're paying more than even drivers if they try to fill up on gas. Let's get on right out to Amy Gallo, who's live for us from Fort Myers in Florida. How did you come across this and what's happening out there?
Yeah, I mean, come across it the same way that we all do right at the pump. We're all dealing with this more money that we're spending every time we try to fill up our gas tanks for our cars. But if you run into any boaters, you hear it immediately, right? They're not just spending money on their cars, they're spending money on that boat, and a lot of times spending extra money if they're buying that fuel at marinas because they charge even higher prices. And while we can all shop around for better prices on the road, you can't exactly do that while you're out on the water. According to AAA, the national average for a gallon of regular gas is now $4.16, while diesel is at $5.67. And boaters are dealing with even higher prices when they get gas at marinas. According to Waterway Guide, marine fuel prices on Florida's Gulf Coast vary widely. Some marinas are as low as $5 per gallon, while others top $7. Many recreational boaters I spoke with told me getting on the water feels like an escape, so they don't mind paying a bit more at the pump, and they tend to fill up at gas stations anyway, so they're paying the same price they would for their car. But for fishermen or charter captains who make their living on the water and rely on marine fuel, the higher costs are starting to worry them. Captain Anthony Torres owns a fishing charter in Southwest Florida. He says if gas prices don't come down soon, he may have to raise his rates like many of the other boat captains in the area so they can cover their own costs.
On a regular day, we usually burn, if it's like a half-day trip, maybe 10, 15 gallons, marina fuel right now, I'm pumping right down the canal, and it's, over about $6.50 a gallon. So, yeah, it adds up quick, and it definitely makes a difference in what we do and our overhead.
Torres says this fuel spike is just the latest challenge for Florida's boating community, which has already been hit hard by recent hurricanes, red tide, and COVID-19 before that. He says at least with this challenge of high fuel prices, it doesn't seem to be deterring people from making their way out and booking charter trips. So at least he's still got customers, and that's something we can only hope for out here in Florida. Back to you.
For sure. It's really interesting to see just how many different industries are being touched and impacted by all of this. And I have to say, too, it was a little hard to be sympathetic with just the average, it's the summer, it's the spring, I just want to get out on the water kind of person. But then you hear about these people who literally are making their living, making money by maybe taking you and your family out on this boat trip, or they are fishermen, and this is exactly how they get out there, they work, and this is how they get their money. It's much harder to hear this for them. Amy, I want to ask you, I'm also taking a look at AAA, where we've got our national gas prices up, because you do mention that some of those people paying $5 or so. The average gas price in the country right now is $4.16. But if we pan over to Florida real quick, I want to show you guys it's $4.15. So that $5 that she was talking about is pretty crazy there. Now, in addition to the interview that you got,
it is, and it's,
go ahead.
It is. Oh,
no, go ahead.
No, sorry, I apologize. No, it is, but it's more so for marine fuel. So thankfully, the pumps, gas prices, like if anyone's trying to make a road trip down here, don't be afraid. The prices are right about that, $4.15 here in Fort Myers. So a lot cheaper. It's marine fuel that's just through the roof.
Got you. But I mean, that means even more and adds more layers to this, as you were just explaining to us, that basically these people who are just trying to make the living for their families, put food on the table and whatnot, are paying significantly more. And as we all know, when it goes up even just a couple of cents, it makes all the difference. So if you're looking at about $1 difference, that is just crazy. And it makes me think about a lot of the truck drivers who use diesel fuel as well. Again, that price significantly higher than the regular gas price. If you guys don't mind telling me in the chat, where are you guys watching from and what does gas look like right now around you? In the meantime, Amy, thank you so much for joining us here in Philadelphia. I appreciate the perspective that you were able to give us of what's going on out there in Florida with the boaters and the mariners. All right, you guys, let's take a look back at that AAA map while I still got it up. So, of course, I did tell you that the national average we were looking at $4.16 out in Florida, where Amy just was $4.15. But then if we can go on up to Pennsylvania and see what it's looking like out there, $4.19. So only slightly higher than the nation's average. Not that bad, but considering where we were probably about a month and a half ago, much higher. Let's see if we can check in on New Jersey, and then I'll also want to look at Delaware too. New Jersey is just over $4 at $4.09, and then Delaware so far had been able to stay under $4, but it looks like they are officially above it, $4.04. So we are all feeling it when we go to the gas station. Okay, so Korea Fordham says it's $4.40 in Fairbanks, Alaska. First of all, wait a minute. Let me make sure that I got that right. I just haven't met anybody from Alaska before, so I'm a little excited. And yes, it is Alaska. Okay, RN Revolutionary says, yep, $4.19 in Pennsylvania. Not that bad, question mark, exclamation point. It's all relative. Yes, horrible gas price, but not that bad when you look at the national average that we are only slightly above it. That's all I meant by that, you guys. All right, and then Valerie Cossette says $3.29 in Sherman, Texas. Ooh, so out of curiosity, were you seeing $2 and some change before all of this happened? That's what I'm anticipating there. Okay, Sophie says $4.19 in West Michigan. You guys keep them coming. This is really, really good. Ooh. User Brain says paying a little more at the pump is well worth the cause. Expand upon that. What do you mean by that? What's the cause? Okay, Sydney says $4.60 in Illinois. What part of Illinois? Prototype X says Rhode Island has $3.95. Well, whatever it is that you're paying, do want to let you know that there are ways to find cheaper gas around you. AAA is one of those great resources. They've got it up on their website. Actually, if you click your state, then you click into it, and if, let's say you go into the city or the county, they're actually able to show you which parts of your state are seeing the cheapest gas prices. And then from there, you can use different apps. I mean, download whatever one you want to use. For me, I use Gas Buddy, but they'll actually tell you what gas stations in your area and how far away they are from you, what those gas prices are looking like, so you can find the cheapest gas in your region if you're trying to fill up and not break the bank. But that's getting a lot harder and harder these days. But hopefully with this ceasefire deal that we now have between the U.S., between Iran, hopefully we see those gas prices start to come down. The market is already excited, literally exploding with excitement, all the points that we've gone up since the close. It's a pretty good day if you are an investor or a trader. All right, when we come back, we've got an interesting discussion, but I'm gonna prepare you right now. It's also a very heavy one. We learned that 3 people are dead, 1 person hospitalized in a house fire. How this all happened, we'll tell you more when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. There are two really big stories that we are keeping up with right now as we speak. When we started this show, we were talking about that partial garage collapse in which we were trying to figure out whether or not anybody was injured in that situation. Hopefully we'll hear from officials pretty soon on that. But another big situation unfolding, we're getting more information on it, is this house fire out in Chester, if you guys are familiar with the area here in Pennsylvania. Our Jennifer Lee got right out to that story and has been keeping us up to date ever since. Jen, I know this is a hard story, a heavy story, but can you walk us through some of those details?
Yes, so we're actually on the 200 block of Jeffrey Street in the city of Chester here in Delaware County. And if you're familiar with Chester, with Subaru Park, the stadium for the soccer team, the Union, it's actually not far from there at all. But let me just show you the property and what it looks like right now. So the fire happened around 2:30 this morning. We actually have video from a neighbor who walked out of his home once he heard commotion, saw heavy smoke, and he recorded some of those flames that were shooting through the window. And the fire commissioner here in Chester actually said that in about 4 minutes after being dispatched, fire crews were on site. Fire crews were able to grab one man who's in his 70s out of this home. We understand that he has some very severe injuries from this fire, and he was first taken over to Christiana, but then he had to be transferred over to Temple University Hospital. So that's where this man remains tonight in critical condition at last check. So throughout the morning, throughout the day, after investigating, at the very end, police and fire crews were able to learn that they were in fact looking for 3 additional people. The fire commissioner did confirm to us they are that man in his 70s, his wife, their adult daughter, and then eventually they also learned that there was a child, they believe 11 years old in the 6th grade, who was still in this home as this fire raged on. It took a couple hours for the fire to become under control. And it took hours and hours, probably through the late afternoon. And that's when the fire commissioner walked over and said that they had recovered all of the occupants from the home. So all 4 have been accounted for. So now we know that 3 people are dead, including that young girl who is 11 years old. And her mother, her grandmother, and then her grandfather is in the hospital. And it was so sad to hear. The commissioner said they actually found the woman in her 30s with her 11-year-old daughter, and that mother was actually her arms were wrapped around her daughter when they found the 2 of them. So extremely heartbreaking. Another member of the community, the mayor, actually ended up showing up to the scene, and he said it was probably his 5th time showing up to this property. And we learned that he actually has a personal connection with this family, and it was through city work. He said that, he would go to the local community center called Access, and he would often see the woman in her 30s, the couple's daughter there, and she would approach him every single time and actually asked for the mayor's help because apparently there was a home that was just adjacent to theirs that was a blighted property and causing issues for their own family home. And the mayor was explaining how it took about 2 years of effort. It was a 2-year-long process, but they were finally able to get that adjacent blighted property, that home. They were able to demolish it. And he kind of explains the story about how the daughter, once he went to the community center again, they ran into each other, and she was so grateful, and even mentioned that her own father, the man in his 70s who's in the hospital, wanted to meet the mayor. So that afternoon, the mayor said he actually came here to Jeffrey Street to this home and met that man. And he said the relationship wasn't going to end there. I'll let you take a listen to what he shared with us.
She was really thankful and said, the father wants to meet you, wants to say hi to you. So that afternoon, I came right to this location, met the father for the first time on the front porch, and he was really happy, almost to the point of tears, that not only was that house removed, but the side of his house was repaired. So no longer was there cold air coming in the winter and, dealing with the rodents and stuff that come along with it. So made me really feel good that I had at least one resident in the city who counted on city services and we delivered. So that was our connection. And it was this morning I got the phone call around 7 this morning that there was a fire on this block. And when I heard the block, I was like, oh, that's the block that the gentleman lives. But it's not his house. And when we got close to the end of the phone call, they told me it was his house. And one of the neighbors knew that I had a connection with the gentleman. So, you know, the fire commissioner called me as not only to give me an update on the fact that there was a fire, that I probably knew the house and the people who lived there.
Yeah, the mayor said that he's pretty heartbroken for obviously this entire family. But, you know, this man that he was just getting to know, we're hearing that his injuries were very severe. But certainly we're going to try and keep in touch about his condition as the evening and tomorrow progresses. But back here at the property, I just want to show you guys, fire crews, they secured it with fencing, but you can see some of the heavy machinery is still here because they had to bring all of this in to carefully search through when they were looking for the remaining individuals who lived in this home. The fire chief did feel a sense of relief. He told us that they were able to find everyone and now everyone is accounted for. But of course, this is just a tragedy with 3 people dead, one of them being an 11-year-old, all family members. Again, the man in his 70s is still in the hospital in critical condition. And the fire commissioner said that the Chester Fire Department investigators, as well as partners from the county and the state, are now investigating the cause and origin of this fire. Judea?
Jen, I mean, I think I speak for everyone. I hope I do when I say we are all praying and hoping for the best for that man in the 70s, hoping that he pulls through. I understand he's in some pretty tough condition, but I mean, getting to hear the story that you shared there, that the connection that he had with the mayor, and even to the point where the mayor, he just knew as he's riding down this street, as he's learning more about the situation, it can't be his house, and then lo and behold, it was. Very special that you were able to get us that. Thank you for letting us put that on the stream. I know you still have to get your story together for the 10 p.m. news, but I like the way that you put it together here. It was very tasteful. I do have a question for you as we were taking a look behind you, and you can see we are literally looking at remnants of a home. I take it that this is a total loss. Is there any idea on whether or not they can salvage anything from there? Maybe even just little pieces of home for the family, like belongings?
As far as we've been told, it's a total loss. You can see it's just the front facade of the home that remains, and you can just see it's all destroyed. And I do know that the fire commissioner had mentioned not only were they faced with heavy flames, but firefighters were also faced with hoarding conditions. So it sounds like the fire probably moved really fast. And the conditions were extremely tough for the firefighters as well, who had to take a defensive approach when attacking this fire early this morning.
Got you. That's a whole nother piece to this as well. I mean, there are a lot of different ways that this story could go, but Jen, again, I appreciate you. I'm going to let you get back to figuring out how you're going to present this for the 10 p.m. show. And I encourage all of you who are watching with us on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, to join us there as well, because there's probably going to be some more things that she's able to give us, more details available for you all. Jen, thank you. She mentioned there at the very end that hoarding tendencies or issues may have contributed to how fast this fire was able to blaze. And as I was talking to Jake Leonard, he's on our digital team, not too long ago, about hoarding, it's actually considered a mental health issue, a mental illness, where some people experience this kind of, how do I want to put this, on the same spectrum as obsessive compulsive disorder. So on one end of the spectrum, you have people who may be extreme neat freaks or germaphobes, constantly want things in a specific order. But then on the other end of things, you have some people who hoard. They are obsessively collecting items. They don't want to let go of different things. I'm not necessarily saying that anyone in this family experienced mental health or mental illness, but I did want to make sure that some of you guys are aware that that could be a possibility. So just putting that out there. I know the American Red Cross has been providing some emergency support as well. So this story will continue. We've got it up on our website. We've got it up on the Fox Local app if you'd like to learn a little bit more. And real quick before we take a break, I want to give you guys a live look. There's a podium set up where the mayor of Philadelphia is expected to talk in just a little bit. This is all as it pertains to that partial garage collapse where we learned it's in a pretty popular shopping area. Sometimes so when that press conference does begin where the mayor is supposed to be speaking, I'll try to bring it out to you live. But still ahead, we've got a lot of news to talk about. I know some of you have been wanting me to talk about the latest with the Epstein files and the case and the investigation. We'll get into that when we come back. An update today. So another famous figure, you all may know him, is getting ready to sit down for an interview. He's supposed to testify in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation, and he's going to be talking about different things that he knows about the convicted sex trafficker. This is Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates that we're talking about here. He's going to sit before the House Oversight Committee on June 10th. So you got quite some time to put that on your calendar. I know a lot of you guys are interested in hearing what he has to say, what he could possibly give them that's new information about Epstein and his dealings on the island or even some other activity. Now, just last month, a Republican chairman requested that Gates appear for that interview. He wrote in that the committee believes that Gates has, and I quote, information that will assist them in the investigation. According to a report from the Wall Street Journal, Gates did apologize for his ties to Epstein in February. He also admitted to having affairs with a Russian bridge player and a Russian nuclear physicist. The committee has also requested an interview with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Now, Lutnick is scheduled to appear May 6th, so that's a lot sooner. But June 10th is the day that we are all expecting to hear from Bill Gates. So that's the latest there on that. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, this is big. I want to talk to you all about different things that might affect you. So for one, a lot of us, we don't even carry cash anymore. A lot of you guys use tap to pay, whether it is your card, you just hover it over the little sensor there, or maybe you use it on your phone. Well, a woman is now claiming that she used that tap to pay system and she thinks she's been scammed after using it. We'll try to figure out if that's possible when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I got an interesting question to ask you all. Have you all used Tap and Pay before? I mean, it's so easy. If you've got Cash App or any other kind of app that allows you to do it, you click twice on your phone, hover it over the cash register, and then boom, you paid for your stuff. And it seems easy. But a woman says that she recently used Tap to Pay, and now she thinks that she's been hacked, and she thinks it was the work of skimmers. Now, I had to bring in a data privacy expert, cybersecurity expert, Harry Moggins, because I needed to understand exactly how this works. Harry, I thought that if you use Tap to Pay or even your card and you hovered over the cash register, that was supposed to be a lot safer than swiping. Am I wrong?
No, actually, Tap to Pay is probably one of the, if not the safest ways of paying with the card nowadays. And the reason is it doesn't expose your credit card number at all. In the old days, when you swipe a card on the back of the mag strip, a black strip on the back of an old credit card, it actually transferred your credit card number to the reader, which then processed the transaction. Now with the Tap to Pay and the NFC when your phone, like Apple Pay, it has a token it generates that's a single-use random number and letter string that gets sent to the payment processor, to the terminal at the cash register, They use it one time for the exact transaction you want, and then it's never used again. So essentially, when Apple Pay or Tap to Pay came out, it pretty much got rid of credit card skimmers. They don't really exist, at least not in the same way they used to.
So then this woman who thinks that maybe she's been targeted, could she be wrong? Is it a coincidence?
Possibly. So there's a lot of visibility companies have and people have and bad guys have to your credit cards constantly. So most likely what happened is her physical credit card was used elsewhere and got compromised. One of the things people don't really think about, people pull out a card all the time and at airports, at restaurants, they put it in checks awaiting to pay a bill. It's not just the waiters that are the ones you have to keep an eye on. You know, most waiters, most restaurants deal with enough credit cards where there's a level of trust. What people aren't often thinking about is the cameras. I've seen numerous cases where people zoom in with a cell phone camera across a restaurant at somebody's physical card and get the information they need off of it. They get the CVV, the expiration, and that can steal a card without you even realizing it happened. So most likely the tap to pay that was the kind of the focus of the story was actually the safest part. And it is a coincidence their card was stolen elsewhere because it's not technologically possible for a tap to steal a credit card number for that kind of fraud.
What? Okay. There are so many things going through my mind right now. The first one that I'm thinking of is like, okay, if I do have to use my card and I'm taking it out, like even for SEPTA, a lot of us, instead of getting a regular, SEPTA is the transit system here, the trains. And so some of us, instead of getting like your traditional train card or whatever, pass, will just use your credit card and just tap it. But now I'm thinking like maybe I should be covering it up with my body a little bit before I, go ahead and tap it. That's really interesting, and I never thought about something like that.
It is, and even cameras, secure surveillance cameras, can be a ripe hunting ground for bad guys to collect cards, especially in areas or environments where you have, vending machines or areas where our cards are exposed a lot. It's so much so I travel quite a bit. I have stopped bringing my wallet or my credit cards out almost anytime. I've gone entirely to my cell phone and Apple Pay for every single payment I can possibly make, especially overseas or areas that are more at risk, just because the safety behind it and the technology, where your credit card number never leaves your phone. It never gets given to the vendor. It's never visible or exposed on the screen. It is a dramatically safer way of paying than old-fashioned credit cards.
Okay, wait, I actually have a trip coming up myself, so now I'm double thinking whether or not I should be bringing my entire wallet with me. And actually, now that I've just said that, I definitely shouldn't do that. So thank you for walking us through that. Now, Harry, there's another thing that I wanted to ask you about. I wanted to pick your brain on. I'm not sure if you've heard this headline. A friend actually sent it to me because there were some rumors on social media. So let me break it down. The state of Utah, they're trying out something new where apparently they're going to be using AI as a support tool when it comes to psychiatry. And the headline that she saw on social media, and she sent it my way, suggested that AI would now be able to prescribe you medicine if you were talking to it and experiencing some mental health issues. But I looked a little deeper into it, and that's not necessarily the case. Have you heard about this at all?
I have. It's positive and scary at the same time. So right now they're using that in Utah. It's an experiment, it's a flagship pilot where they're allowing people with mental health prescriptions to refill their prescription using AI, never talking to a human. Which to some people, especially if you don't like calling and talking to a person, some people prefer a text or automated systems. In that case, the AI could alleviate some anxiety, and make it quicker or more convenient for a lot of people. The risk, obviously, is AI is a black box for a lot of people. It's an emerging technology. Guardrails are still being established. And whenever you're talking about HIPAA or the medical industry, there needs to be a lot of clarity on who's holding the information and where it goes. So if it's, this kind of technology in Utah is not being backed by OpenAI or Anthropic or one of the big companies, it's a local LLM or large language model. It's a local AI that's contained inside of the prescription refill platform. So it's most likely not going to some cloud or some big company. But the question is, the service provider that's offering this AI for the prescription refills, who's going to see the data that they're recording? How long are they retaining it? And most importantly, what other use cases are they going to use from the data they collect? Like, are they going to train more models? Are they going to train the ability to eventually prescribe full prescriptions or even make diagnoses in the future? It's a step into a world that could have a lot of benefit, but is also very dangerous because obviously, exposing somebody's medical file or anything to do with mental health is the crown jewel of hackers, of people who are trying to, extort or scam. That information needs to be carefully contained and secured. And again, AI is an amazing technology, but it is a new frontier. We need to make sure it has the proper guardrails in place.
For sure. And I mean, I want to ask you this. This may be a loaded question, but these questions that we would be posing on, where does my data go? Are you guys using it to train another model? Are those things that regular people like you and I can, well, you're not a regular person, but a regular person like myself, is that something that I could ask? Or is that something like, after they have finished this study, this research, then maybe it goes to Congress or something like that, and then there are lobbyists who talk about it? Is it like that kind of thing, or is this, I can talk to maybe even my health provider about that?
So I definitely would talk to the health provider. I would ask support. I would check the FAQs or the website. They should disclose all this in plain English, especially for a pilot. The problem is, if there's a way to commercialize it in a way where it keeps their costs down, or it has some kind of profit center they're finding from the data, they're probably not going to disclose that front and center. So it's probably going to be buried in the fine print. Now, most likely they do have to disclose it. And the absolute irony of the entire thing is, if I was trying to see how they would use the data, the first thing I would do is probably take their privacy policy, the 100 legal pages of lawyer talk. I would probably take that privacy policy, drop it into ChatGPT and say, what are they doing with my data? And that's the absolute irony of the whole thing.
Honestly, I feel like that's what we're all doing. But, when it comes to terms and conditions that we all don't read but probably should read, maybe that is the best way to go about it so that you can figure out where exactly your information is going. Harry, as always, I love picking your brain. Anytime I have something tech to talk about, AI involving, I definitely want to bring you on here. You make it so easy to break it all down. And I do see in our TikTok live chat, we actually had somebody weigh in while we were talking. They probably are talking about the section where we mentioned maybe it would be a good way, if you had anxiety, for you to deal with AI rather than a person. She says, I'm a mental health professional. Avoidant behaviors make anxiety worse, not good. If you're still watching with us, could you give us a suggestion on how we can work around that? I mean, some people really just do prefer that quick method of just putting it in the chat and then they get their answer spit right back out at them. But if it is about anxiety, what's a better way to handle that? Just curious for our viewer there. But Harry, for you, thank you so much for joining us. I'm hoping that we'll get to chat again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Jaya. I appreciate it.
No problem. All right, you guys, we got a lot to talk about, and I'm hoping that that viewer does get back to me pretty soon. But if not, we are going to keep the ball rolling. Remember, we were talking about the Gilgo Beach murders and how that accused serial killer actually has come forward. He was in court today, and he actually pleaded guilty to 7 of those murders and actually admitted to an 8th one. I believe we have that press conference. We were able to listen into it a little bit. I want to play just a little bit of it for you. Let's see what they said today.
This defendant walked among us, play acting as a normal suburban dad, when in reality, all along, he was obsessively targeting innocent women for death. He identified these women, lured them into Nassau County, murdered them, and left their bodies in Suffolk County. He thought that by killing them, he could silence them forever and get away with murder. But he was wrong, because it was these victims, these women, who refused to stay silent. First, that silence was broken by the victims' families, who advocated for their loved ones.
I'm so sorry for making that jarring transition, but I did see the mayor just started talking about this collapsed garage, and we were wondering whether anybody was impacted in it. Let's listen in live.
Approximately 2:17 p.m., a portion of a parking garage under construction collapsed here in Grays Ferry. Our Philadelphia Fire Department, along with all of our first responders and Philadelphia Police Department, responded immediately to the scene. One individual was rescued from the scene and was transported to Penn Presbyterian Medical Center, where they were pronounced deceased shortly after 3 o'clock today. 2 individuals remain unaccounted for at this time. As a praying mayor, I want you to know that all of our prayers are with the families of the individual who passed and also the families of the 2 people who remain missing. Let me be very clear about something at this moment. We will not give up on these individuals, and we will not rest until everyone is accounted for from this tragedy. With this in mind, I humbly ask all Philadelphians to please say a prayer tonight for these individuals. In Philadelphia, we know that prayer works. Fire Commissioner Thompson is going to give you a brief on the details of the search and rescue operation that is currently underway. It's going to take time. This is a very, very complex process, and Commissioner Thompson and others are working very hard to determine that the garage structure is stable enough for the first responders and firefighters to actually enter it. So here are a few more facts as we know them at this time, and I want Philadelphia, you to know this for the record. We will empower the tool of transparency, and my job as mayor is to ensure that the facts as I know them, that those facts are communicated to you, our citizens. From our L&I Commissioner Basil Miranda, the location was 3000 Grays Ferry Avenue, Unit B. The project scope, it was new construction of a 7-story, non-accessory parking garage with ground floor retail space. 8 permits were required and properly issued, and all of the inspections were up to date. The general contractor here is a firm called HSC Builders and Construction, and they are located in Exton, PA. Of course, the owners are our very own Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. The agencies that are on site right now are OSHA, the Philadelphia Fire Department, the Philadelphia Police Department, licenses and inspections, their Compliance and Safety Division that you will hear us reference as ISC, along with the Office of Emergency Management. An incident summary reads as follows. The site is currently an active Philadelphia Fire Department scene for rescue and or recovery operations. So right now, this scene is under the control of the Philadelphia Fire Department. The L&I ISC division has also initiated an investigation into the incident. The structural collapse was contained, and this is important to affirm, and these are the facts. The structural collapse was contained to the 30th Street side of the stair tower, where all 7 levels of the stair system failed. The owner's engineer is on site for further structural assessment. The subcontractor here is a firm called Precast Services Incorporated, and they were in the process of installing precast concrete floor decking and roof segments. After placement, a precast roof segment failed and fell to the level below, literally triggering a progressive collapse of connected sections across all 7 levels. And again, you've heard me affirm the parties. Further inspection and compliance notes. We want you to know that the precast concrete segments were manufactured off-site and installed by the manufacturer. This process does not require standard L&I inspection. Instead, it falls under required special inspections that include periodic inspections for precast concrete installations. These inspections were assigned to Valerie Moody of GAI Construction Monitoring Services. Now for an update on our L&I ISC actions. The Audit and Investigations Unit will conduct an investigation and audit all of the contractors and subcontractors. Our CSU Emergency Services personnel, that's our construction services unit, they will remain on site to support the Philadelphia Fire Department during the ongoing recovery operations. In closing, before you hear from our emergency management officials, I want to state for the record that I have been in close communication since we were alerted of this tragedy today with Children's Hospital of Philadelphia President and CEO Madeline Bell. The garage under construction is for CHOP, but President Bell, I need to state for the record that you, along with the entire team at our Children's Hospital, have been completely cooperative with the city of Philadelphia. All our emergency management officials, along with our first responders, and I want to thank you, Madam President, and to all members of your team for the amazing cooperation that you provided to my administration as we work through this challenging moment in our city. I have also been in constant communication with our governor, Josh Shapiro, and of course, our legislative leader, Council President Kenyatta Johnson, who is not just our legislative leader, but the council member here who represents this region. And we have been in constant communication throughout the day. And Mr. President, I want to affirmatively say thank you for the record for making sure that we are crossing every T and dotting every I to get the facts and ensure that is what is communicated to our residents and, importantly, your direct council district constituency. I want you to know that the city will investigate this garage collapse thoroughly and efficiently to learn all of the relevant facts of this terrible tragedy, and we will continue to communicate directly with the people of Philadelphia. Philadelphia, what I cannot control for. And Managing Director Teal, he and I talked earlier. It was reminiscent of what we experienced when we went through the worst Black Swan event, one of the worst that we could have ever imagined here in our city. It was during the plane crash that occurred in Northeast Philadelphia, and Council President Johnson and Chairman Harris, all we could do as a city was report the facts as they were given to us from our emergency management personnel. We could not control what was posted on social media or any misinformation that had been communicated to the public. So we ask you to please monitor the City of Philadelphia's website. We will keep you posted if there are more facts to communicate to you before we get back together. But for the residents in particular who live in this immediate area, if you are in need of any kind of assistance, any kind of trauma care, I want you to confidently call our Department of Behavioral Health, and you can do that by dialing 3 numbers, 988. 988 24/7, and you can get access to someone who can assist you during this challenging time. We will deliver the most relevant information that we have as soon as it becomes available. Again, crossing every T and dotting every I until we get to the bottom of what happened here today. I'm going to turn it over first to our Fire Commissioner Thompson. You'll then hear from Managing Director Morales, and then our First Deputy Police Commissioner Stanford. But Philadelphia, please note this. If misinformation is communicated, or if you read something that is stated and it says this information has been provided by an anonymous source, the City of Philadelphia cannot be responsible for any information communicated to you in that manner. Now we'll hear from Fire Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Parker. Good evening, everyone. It's been a difficult day for the City of Philadelphia today. This afternoon at approximately 2:16, members of Squad 47, which is located 1 block from our current location, actually heard sounds that they responded to immediately, and they discovered that at 30th and Grace Ferry, we had a parking garage that's under construction that had partially collapsed. They notified our Fire Communications Center, who then responded by sending the appropriate resources to mitigate this incident. And we immediately began search and rescue operations. We were able to, through a surface search, rescue 3 people right away. One, as the mayor spoke of, was critically injured, and we treated on scene, transported to a local hospital, and unfortunately they succumbed to their injuries. 2 were treated and released, and we have 2 that remain unaccounted for. It's important to state that what is going on here tonight is a search and rescue operation. We will have resources here throughout the night. It is important that this building that was impacted by this collapse is unstable, and because of that, we brought in resources such as engineers and other folks to make sure that we can evaluate this building. The plan is to do all that we can to make it safe so that my men and women can get in there and do a complete and thorough search. We will not stop until we have looked through every part of this affected structure to ensure that everyone is accounted for. It's also important to note that this process is going to take time. This building that has been impacted is unstable. It has to be secured. We have to very carefully and methodically deconstruct this building for the safety of the people working on it, and ultimately for the safety of the first responders who will continue the search. So please bear with us as we continue to conduct this operation. We cannot give you a time frame on how long it's going to take, because as we move through this process, we are constantly re-evaluating this structure and making plans to make sure that we can conduct this operation as safely as possible. Also, it's important to note that resources will be here until we conclude this operation. Philadelphia Fire Department, the Philadelphia Police Department and other agencies will be out here until we conclude this operation. Thank you very much.
Commissioner, before you go, can you talk about the experience of the teams that are doing this and who they are for the record?
Absolutely. Squad 47, which is located a block from here, as I mentioned earlier, is part of the urban search and rescue teams that work for FEMA. There are 28 urban search rescue teams in the United States of America. Pennsylvania has one, and Philadelphia is a sponsoring agency for that one. Those folks are trained in specialized operations, technical rescue, marine operations, and things of that nature. So we have the very best, the most well-trained people here on site to make sure that we can do all that we can to continue this search and rescue operation. Absolutely.
Good evening. I'm Dominic Morellis, the Deputy Managing Director for Community Safety and the city's Emergency Management Coordinator. Our thoughts from the entire city are with those who have been impacted by this incident. And that's not just the individuals who are on the site, but it has this entire community. And our resolve is to all of those individuals to bring quick resolution and safe resolution as quickly as possible. This is a major incident, and our protocol since the moment this call came in has been to respond to it like a major incident. And here in the city of Philadelphia, we have the experts, and we have the experience, and we have the protocols. Some highlights. Our process as a city and as an emergency management agency that focuses on preparing for, responding to, and recovering from major incidents is to be comprehensive and holistic. As you've heard, the main event, the main concern is that structure and finding anyone who may still be in there. But we know that there's also concern about what happens to that building. We know that there are homes nearby. We know that there's very important commerce activity, grocery stores here. We know the number of pets that are in the shelter behind us. And that is what the emergency management process as a team up here is responding to, and what we are working as quickly and as safely as we can to bring quick resolution to. There will be some level of community impact to the daily commute and to business activity around here. You saw some of that this afternoon. You see some of the barriers that are going up, the barriers that are up for the fulsome safety of this entire incident and any possible eventuality that could come as we continue to respond. We are doing our best to make that as compressed and as limited in duration as we possibly can, but there will be some, and that is top of mind for us, for this entire community. This community that actually many of us have lived in or currently do live in, frankly. And so we will be here responding to that, and what you can do right now, please stay away. Please keep everyone involved in your thoughts. And please do follow the city's social media accounts at PhilaOEM, phila.gov. There will be a blog with status updates. Follow SEPTA for any possible detours. All of those elements will be kept up to date in real time. Commissioner, thank you.
Good evening. I'm John Stanford, the First Deputy Commissioner for Philadelphia Police Department. As you heard today, we responded to this location earlier in conjunction with the Philadelphia Fire Department. Our role in this type of incident is pretty much to secure the perimeter of the area, which is what our officers did. 17th District responded to this location, followed by officers within South Division, as well as personnel from our Special Operations Bureau. As I stated, our primary function is to secure the perimeter to allow the fire department and others to continue to do what they were attempting to do in terms of rescue anyone that they could do at that time. We will continue to secure the perimeter here from 29th Street to 33rd Street along Grays Ferry will be shut down. Just so that you are aware, the shopping plaza that we are currently standing in will be shut down as well. It's already been shut down. The businesses here have been made aware of that. At this point in time, it will be shut down for tomorrow as well, probably on a 24-hour cycle to be able to at least assess the safety of this area and to ensure that that's the number one priority, that folks are not coming to this location. The message overall is please stay away from this location while the crews are here doing what they need to do. Please do not come to try and take pictures or just to be on site or any of those type of things. The best thing you can do is to stay away from the location and pray for everyone that's involved in this situation. But again, we will continue to update as this process goes in terms of the stores reopening. We will condense the area based upon what's appropriate in terms of opening up traffic or reducing the perimeter, but that's going to be based upon what needs to be done here. And as you already heard the mayor and Commissioner Thompson, there's no timeline on that. Our priority is to make sure that everything is safe and to do the work that needs to be done here. And so,
thank you.
All right.
Thank you so very much, Deputy Commissioner. Again, Philadelphia, you know, the question on everyone's minds, Council President and Chairman Harris, is how long will it take? Because we have already begun to receive inquiries. It will take as long as it has to take, because the public health and safety of the immediate residents in this community and all of Philadelphia, that is our number one priority. And we are under strict guidance by the structural engineers who are working in partnership with our emergency management officials to ensure that we do everything that we can in this moment to make public health and safety our number one priority. We'll now take some questions. Yes.
Yeah, so basically, in order to make this, because this structure is compromised, we have to methodically take it apart. So we're actually going to deconstruct and delayer this building. And that will make it safe for my members to get inside and get down to the lowest levels to ensure that we don't have any survivors down there. Again, this is still a search and rescue operation, right? And we're not going to stop working until we complete that mission. That's a great question. We actually have an incident management team that is working at the firehouse right now. We are working with engineers. We have a group of folks, and we are planning this operation out. It has to be done very methodically. So we're going to we are planning on beginning that process as soon as we can. We're waiting on additional equipment to come into place, and but it is going to happen as soon as we possibly can.
I'm sorry, dear, I can't hear you. Right now, this is a search and rescue mission here in our city of Philadelphia. It is ongoing, and we will not stop until we do everything that we can to locate those two people who are currently unaccounted for. That's one. Two, we have our Department of Licenses and Inspections and all of our emergency management team crossing every T and dotting every I. The firms who actually worked on the project, any information that we've needed, anything that we have to ask for, we have the ability to do that. And again, I want to affirm that CHOP, under the leadership of Madeline Bell, they have been very collaborative. We have all empowered the tool of transparency here. But Philadelphia, let me just say this right now, the mission at hand, this is a search and rescue mission, and nothing will stop us from being laser focused on that. But thank you so very much for your question. Well,
Yeah. So first, let me reaffirm that we don't give up on anyone. I've been doing this for a long time, and we will continue this effort as long as it takes. We will not give up on anyone. We have not been able to make contact, but that doesn't mean that they are not in a survivable place. So we will just continue our efforts until we have exhausted them completely.
With that being said, we're going to complete this press conference. But again, how long will it take? As long as it needs to take. We're going to cross every T and dot every I. In Philadelphia, don't forget that we are in search and rescue mode. And please, please keep everyone in prayer at this time. Thank you so very much for being here.
There was so much talked about in that press conference right there, where we got to hear from the mayor and a couple of other city officials on what exactly took place here. And I want to walk you all through it because I know some of you just joined our live stream chat and are trying to figure out what exactly took place. So first and foremost, as they leave that podium, I know we've got some video from Chopper. We also got some video from our reporter, Shawnette. Let's see if we can get any of that up just so they get a visual of this area. But what I can tell you is that earlier today, this parking garage that they say there was active construction being done on, this parking garage collapsed. Not all of it, but part of it. This was a 7-story structure that we're talking about here. And according to officials, it seems like it was contained to just one side of it. And also it looks like maybe just the stairwell portion of it. As our chopper that flew over the scene a little earlier continues to move around, you're gonna see some of that rubble on the ground, that debris, and then you'll also be able to see inside the area that they say really fell apart, fell through floor to floor to floor. And so at this point in time, they do remind us, they have said it over and over again, you heard the mayor end on this, that this is a search and rescue mission. So they did tell us one person is dead, but they know 2 people are currently unaccounted for, and they say they will stop at nothing to figure out where those people are, even if that means having to continue to tear down some parts of the building to get to lower parts, hoping that they will find some survivors out there. So again, this is very much so an active investigation that's underway. Another thing that they mentioned is they don't want anyone in this area. So if you are completely new to this is Grays Ferry Avenue and 30th Street that we're talking about here, Grays Avenue neighborhood. And they say that this was a very active shopping plaza. A lot of you probably know it. There's a bank over there, grocery store, nail shop, a couple of other different shops. And I was taking a look at the parking lot that's on the ground. So not the garage that they say came apart in parts of it, but the parking lot in that shopping plaza. And I would say there's probably a couple hundred spaces for cars. So that just lets you know how much foot traffic they probably see in that area on a regular basis. But for tonight and for sure tomorrow, they don't want anyone coming through that area. They say do not come for pictures. If anything, they want you to do another P. Pray for the people who may be impacted in this. The other thing they say is the only thing that they're worried about right now is the health and safety of the people who live and work nearby. And they say that is their #1 priority. So as this investigation continues, we do have an article up on our website. I encourage you all to get on out there to read through it because there's some more details that we were able to collect throughout the day. There's also video of the initial search and rescue operation where you can see it looks like fire crews like literally extending their ladders up just to see if anybody was left inside that parking garage. And so again, we are able to now confirm 1 person is dead and 2 people are still unaccounted for, and hopefully we get a good resolution out of this at any point in time. If we get some more information, if we get another press conference, I doubt it for tonight, but just in case we do, I will be able to bring that live to you. And if not here on our stream, then of course on the news at 10 o'clock. All right, you guys, let's take a quick step back. When we come back, we'll be talking more about other headlines of the day. We may even get to check in with our sports team. I'll double check on that when we come back. guys, welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. We're going to get a quick check-in at sports with our Scott Grayson. Scott, the Phillies did have an incredible game tonight, but before we talk about that, while we're speaking of the Phillies, there is some big news that we need to bring the people. I heard that they are mourning the loss of a late and a great Davy Lopez. We actually got the Instagram post up. Now, Scott, you know I'm fairly new to Philadelphia, so I'm still learning about who everyone is. But just from looking at the comment section, I take it that everyone knew this gentleman. Is there any more that you can fill me in on?
Yeah, he was loved here and around all of baseball, really. He had a great history as a player with the Dodgers, but he was here as a first base coach for the Phillies from 2007 to 2010. It included the 2008 year when they won the World Series. So he won a World Series ring here as an assistant coach. He spent 45 years either as a player or a coach consecutively, straight, 45 years straight in the game of baseball. Was great, was well known as a great base stealer, really helped Jimmy Rollins learn the art of base stealing when he was here with the Phillies. So, you know, he definitely left his mark on this franchise and left his mark on the game in general. He was 80 years old, and obviously he was very beloved along all the places he had been throughout his career, including here in Philadelphia.
Oh, for sure. So I understand there are going to be a lot of people, fans, colleagues, the like, who are mourning his loss. So wanted to make sure that we started with paying homage to him.
Sure.
And, you know, with the Phillies in mind, I do know they played tonight. How did they do? Did we come out on top?
No, didn't even score a run.
Oh
they got shut out for the second straight day. So their road trip ends. I think they're happy to be getting on a plane and coming home. They lost 2 straight in San Francisco, lost today 5-0. Aaron Nola was pitching pretty well, had one real bad mistake pitch that he left out over the plate, and the Giants' Rafael Devers hit a 3-run homer off of that. The Phillies' offense never able to get anything going. So they come back here, and this offense is struggling pretty badly. It has been 20 innings since they last scored a run. So this offense needs to get going. They're off tomorrow. Then they start a series, start a homestand here at home on Friday with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Okay, and I mean, how are the Diamondbacks? Are we expecting a better game when we play against them, or is it kind of up in the air?
No, I would expect some better. I just would expect them to be better in general. They can't continue to fail like that at the plate. I mean, they can, but I wouldn't expect it, especially when they get back home here. You know, they have Taijuan Walker starting that first game on Friday. He's kind of had some rough outings lately, so you kind of don't know what to expect Friday from him. But the Phillies in general, I think it'll be good to get them home. They've now had one homestand, one road trip. They finished up 3-3 on the road trip, so that's, you know, all in all, not terrible. So we'll see how they do when they get back here.
All right. Well, we know that there is no Flyers game, no 76ers game tonight, but I want to keep the ball rolling. How much do you like golf? Are you a golfer?
Yeah, I like golf. I play. Not very good at it, but I like to play.
Me neither. I can putt, but I can't drive. Well, you know, the Masters tournament begins tomorrow. A lot of people are excited for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Masters is one of the great, golf tournaments out there. The great thing about this tournament, I would say to people, if you want to watch this, it's it's a major golf tournament. There's only 4 of them every year. The next one after this one will be right here in the Philadelphia area in, a little over a month. So you want to watch this, you want to kind of keep an eye on it, and you'll see who's going to be kind of the golfer who's coming in with a lot of momentum that's going to be coming to Philadelphia looking to win another major. I think that's important to kind of see. But the Masters is so much history, such a pretty course. There's a lot of great things going on there, so many good stories. So, yeah, I mean, you can park yourself on the couch and just watch some golf. Pretty much starting tomorrow all the way through the weekend.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will. And you mentioned that it is a beautiful course. A lot of people say it's probably the most beautiful course that they've seen here in the U.S. Some people say in the world. I don't know about that, though.
No, there's a lot of history there, and it is a very beautiful course. You'll see so much good scenery from that all throughout the weekend. One of the best in the world, I think that's fair to say.
Okay, all right. And, you know, that's all happening out in Augusta. And while we're talking about golf, honestly, I hate to bring it up, but it is news, so I do have to tell the people, you know, we have been keeping up with the latest on Tiger Woods. Yeah. And today, Fox News is reporting that his prescription drug records will be subpoenaed out in Florida. Those prosecutors are trying to pursue that DUI arrest that he had.
Yeah, he's he's in rehab, and they're hopefully going to help him get right. One of, if not the greatest golfer ever, right? And he's had his share of success at Augusta in the Masters. But I think the most important thing is that he get himself right here, and whatever it takes for that to happen. And he's obviously going to have to be held accountable for what happened in that rollover.
Yeah, for sure. Well, on to some lighter news. Scott, when I saw this on Instagram, I chuckled. You know, we've been keeping up with Artemis 2 as those astronauts are making their way to and around the moon. They're actually now on their way back to Earth. You're taking a live look out there now. That's a camera that's attached to the outside of Orion, so you can literally see their path as they're making their way back to Earth. But Scott, apparently Christina Cook, who's the only woman on this flight to and from the moon, she's not only an Eagles fan, but she also loves the Phillies.
Yeah, I think that's great, right? I mean, you know, so I was reading up about her a little bit, and so when she was on the International Space Station for almost a year, they would send her up the signal, and she would just kick back and watch Eagles games up there. You know, talk about how cool is that, right? To watch an Eagles game from outer space. So yeah, and then she keeps in touch with the Phillies. She's probably not happy if she saw what happened with the Phillies today, but hopefully, you know, better days are coming.
Yeah, hopefully her good luck rubs off on them, because she's been doing some pretty cool things up there, including her claim to fame, if you will. When this all began, they say that she was the space plumber because she fixed their toilet issue.
Yeah, yeah.
She's a woman of many talents.
That's what I want on my resume.
The space plumber, yeah. You can obviously fix anything. Well, Scott, this has been interesting talking with you about some of our biggest headlines in sports. We may check in with you a little later on, depending on how the rest of our news unfolds. You know, we keep it live here, so you never know what can happen.
Yep, keep us posted.
Got you. All right, you guys, come back in here with me. So we talked about Artemis 2. I also want to make sure that we are keeping up to date on everything that's happening with the ceasefire deal with Iran. President Donald Trump did say for the next 2 weeks we are expecting to see some sort of peace. They say we're not going to attack them, they're not going to attack us, and they're also supposed to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which hopefully should bring down the cost of oil. So far it has. We're seeing $95 per barrel, whereas a couple of days ago we were seeing $100, over $100. They're also supposed to maybe bring down our gas prices. We'll see if that happens. But the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, she actually held her daily press conference or weekly press conference where she talked to the media. And at this point in time, she was answering some questions. Let's listen into just a little bit of it.
2 questions for you. First, following the president's announcement of the ceasefire, if this is indeed the end of hostilities in Iran, what is the president's message to the American people about what was achieved for our country through Operation Epic Fury?
Sure. I think I just laid out a significant portion of that in my opening remarks. 6 weeks ago, the president looked the American people in the eye directly, and he told them that he launched this operation to take out the imminent threat that was posed by Iran. And that threat has now been greatly destroyed. Their Navy, their missiles, their defense industrial base, and their desire and their plan to build a nuclear bomb inside their country is no longer going to be allowed, can no longer happen, thanks to the remarkable success of Operation Epic Fury over the course of the last 38 days. That has been absolutely achieved, and now we're moving into the next phase of this, which is a negotiating period to put some fine points on this and to hopefully broker an agreement that can achieve long-term peace in the Middle East.
Yeah, and then second, what is the president's message to American seniors who have a much higher voter participation rate and they're likely to be a key swing vote in the midterm elections?
Well, the president loves our seniors across the country. And as you know, the president signed the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut last year, which greatly reduced taxes on Social Security for our seniors. In fact, thanks to the Working Families Tax Cut, nearly 90% of seniors will no longer pay tax on their Social Security. That's a huge win for our seniors and also for our middle class and working families across the country with the no tax on tips provision and the no tax on overtime. Next week is tax week. You'll hear a lot from the president about how his policies have benefited the American people, and I'm proud to report that the president will be traveling next week to the great states of Nevada and Arizona to tout this historic accomplishment over the course of the next week. Thank you for being here, Shane. Gabe.
Thank you, Caroline. Iranian state media is saying that
Iran has now closed off the Strait of Hormuz today in response to Israeli attacks on Lebanon. What's the White House response to that? And you just listed many military successes. I understand that. But strategically, how is the administration arguing that Iran does not have more economic leverage than it did before the start of the war?
Sure. Well, with respect to the first reporting out of Iranian state media, the president was made aware of those reports before I came to the podium. That is completely unacceptable. And again, this is a case of what they're saying publicly is different privately. We have seen an uptick of traffic in the Strait today, and I will reiterate the president's expectation and demand that the Strait of Hormuz is reopened immediately, quickly, and safely. That is his expectation. It has been relayed to him privately that is what's taking place, and these reports publicly are false.
Caroline, the president yesterday threatened that a whole civilization would die if a ceasefire deal wasn't reached, understanding that Iranian leaders have previously said death to America. But why is it appropriate for the president of the United States to use that kind of language when talking about civilian targets? And was the president mocking Islam by signing off his Truth Social post over the weekend, praise be to Allah? Wouldn't that antagonize Muslim allies across the world?
Well, I understand the questions about the president's rhetoric, but what the president cares most about is results. And in fact, his very tough rhetoric and his tough negotiating style is what has led to the result that you are all witnessing today. Iran publicly acknowledging last night that they have agreed or that they wanted this ceasefire with the United States because they no longer could tolerate being bombed by our very powerful and lethal military, and that they have committed to the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, which the president will hold them accountable for, and it's something the administration is closely monitoring in real time.
So,
Danny.
Should the world not take his word seriously?
The world should take his word very seriously in understanding that the president is always most interested in results. And it was the Iranians who backed down, not President Trump. He said that they would face very grave consequences, as you just laid out, by the 8 p.m. deadline if they did not agree to reopening the Strait of Hormuz. And what did they do last night? They agreed to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Danny.
Thanks, Caroline. Would President Trump like to see Lebanon included in this peace deal? Because as you know, there's been increased Israeli strikes on Lebanon today with dozens of casualties there.
Sure. Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire. That has been relayed to all parties involved in the ceasefire. As you know, Prime Minister Netanyahu put out a statement last night in support of the ceasefire, in support of the United States' efforts, and he's also assured the president they'll continue to be a helpful partner throughout the course of the next 2 weeks.
Is there any thought, though, that the president might like to see Lebanon included at a future date, given that it seems to be causing or potentially undermining the Iran ceasefire?
Again, this will continue to be discussed, I am sure, between the president and Prime Minister Netanyahu, the United States and Israel, and all of the parties involved. But at this point in time, they're not included in a ceasefire deal. Jeff.
Thank you. Caroline, will the U.S. take part in talks with Iran in Islamabad on Friday?
I can announce that the president is dispatching his negotiating team, led by the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, Special Envoy Witkoff, and Mr. Kushner to Islamabad for talks this weekend. The first round of those talks will take place on Saturday morning local time, and we look forward to those in-person meetings.
What role does the president see for the U.S. in monitoring or helping with the Strait of Hormuz going forward?
I think the president commented on that this morning. We're going to continue to monitor it very, very closely. We will be helpful in any way that we can, but we fully expect Iran to do this, and the president has made that quite clear as well. It's, again, as his statement said last night, this ceasefire is subject to the safe reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Again, this was just determined last night. We understand things take time, but that's the president's expectation, and he will hold everyone to it.
All right. Well, you have it there. That is just part of the Q&A that Caroline Leavitt held at the White House earlier today. We'll be listening into the second half of it, so don't worry if you were really into that. We will be getting back out to it. I do see some new updates that we are getting in that apparently, due to some Israeli strikes today, an Al Jazeera correspondent was killed in Gaza. They also say that 2 Lebanese journalists who were also in the area were also killed by those strikes. That is the latest news that we are getting as it pertains to Israel. As they mentioned, they aren't necessarily part of this ceasefire deal that we have with Iran, the U.S. This is Iran speaking here. And so this is all information that we are getting in. If I see some more about this, I'll definitely let you guys know what latest we are getting. But I can tell you the Israeli strikes that we have seen today have killed more than 180 people. These strikes that have been targeting Hezbollah. So again, that's the latest that we have there on that. When we come back, there's a lot more that I want to talk to you about, and I may be even able to finish that Q&A. We'll have more when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. It has been a pretty chilly day today, but I'm hearing that it may get even colder. Kathy Orr, meteorologist, I hope you're listening to me right now. I have been paying attention to the weather forecast, and I brought my parka, but is that going to be enough?
Yes,
Okay.
that will be enough. That's what I have. Yeah, I have the lighter winter parka. I have the intense one, the super bubble coat, and then the light one. So you can use the light one tomorrow.
Okay, that's good to hear. What else can we expect with our forecast ahead?
Well, it's going to get colder before it gets warmer. You know how that goes, especially for the morning hours. We have another freeze warning, but if your plants survived this morning, they will survive tomorrow morning. So temperature's still cold enough to call a freeze across the Delaware Valley. That's what the National Weather Service issued for tomorrow morning, but not as cold as last night. So right now, looking at that beautiful Ben Franklin Bridge, the temperature is 44 degrees. And with a clear sky and light winds, the numbers are going to fall off pretty quickly during the overnight hours. So as we look at them, today's high temperature is below average, most locations in the 50s, Atlantic City at the airport only in the 40s, and these numbers already crashing. I mean, Hamilton, Millville, interior South Jersey, even Dover, Delaware in the 30s, the Poconos in the 30s, and Atlantic City at the airport 39. So you can tell where these numbers are going. Overnight, lows falling to freezing and below in most locations. Philadelphia close at 34, and down the shore a little bit milder due to those ocean water temperatures in the 40s. Freeze warning until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. But then as that sun angle gets more direct as we're, inching towards summer, you can see by noon we're around 50 and close to 60 degrees for the afternoon. Lots of sun tomorrow, no wind, and temperatures around 60 are going to make it feel a lot more comfortable than it has been the past couple of days. So travel from Philadelphia south, we're in the 60s and sunshine as you head down 95, north on 95 in New York, even Boston, temperatures in the mid 50s with plenty of sun. So this is what's going to happen. You're going to watch all those blue contours staying to the north and those reds and oranges to the south kind of bubble up along the east coast. That's warming, and that's what we call a ridge building in the upper atmosphere. And that means warmer temperatures. So anything coming from the south is good as far as I'm concerned. So you want to get out, you want to mow the lawn, weed a little bit, or even get the car washed, do it now because we are in a very dry stretch of weather. So the next 3 days we'll go 60, then we'll go 70s, and then we'll go around 70 by Saturday, staying on the cooler seasonable side Sunday. But then look what happens. We see clouds, but much warmer temperatures, 80s by Monday, near 90 Tuesday, and most likely making it to around 90 on Wednesday. And you look at the 10-day trend, we stay in the 60s and 70s for the next 3-4 days, and then those temperatures skyrocket. Even after Wednesday, we fall to 85 Thursday, and next weekend stays pretty nice in the mid-70s. If we can keep these weekends dry, Judea, then we're in good shape.
Okay. Keep the weekends dry. Put that on my checklist. I don't know if I have a direct line with Mother
can you work
Nature,
on that?
but I can try.
Rain at night, and then nice on the weekend. We like that pattern.
We do. That's exactly what I need, as I'm still trying to, figure out all the different places to go, things to do. Although this weekend, I think it's reserved for getting my hair done.
Perfect. Yes, that's a must. Self-care is a must. You have to do that.
Absolutely. And then, you never know when you're going to get another really good day or when it's not going to be too humid. So I will take this while I have it.
All right,
Kathy,
enjoy
thank
it.
you so much for this look at our weather forecast. All right, you guys, we are still keeping up with everything that's going on with the ceasefire deal between the U.S. and Iran. The Pentagon spoke earlier. You're going to hear from Pete Hegseth and Dan Kane when we come back. Hey guys, welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray, and I've got some news for you Pennsylvanians. Is that what we can call you guys? There is a community alert that you need to be on the lookout for. So if you shop at Gateway Shopping Center, officials are saying keep your head on a swivel because they've seen a couple of pickpocketing incidents. So right now they're saying that you need to be aware. If you see someone who seems suspicious, it kind of seems like maybe they're trying to distract you from something, chances are they probably are. So they're saying don't leave your shopping cart unattended. Make sure you've got your purse zipped, your wallet zipped at all times and close to you. And then of course, like I mentioned, be cautious of strangers who are coming up to talk to you or may seem like they're just trying to provide some sort of distraction, because it could be that someone's going to come up behind you or near you and do something. Now this isn't supposed to scare you, it's just supposed to make sure that you are aware. Right now they are saying if you do observe any of that suspicious activity, they hope that you feel confident enough to report it to a store member, a staff member, or contact police directly so that they can look into this and make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. Now, that is a very bare bones version of what they want you guys to know. If you are with us at 10 p.m. on the news with Fox 29 Philadelphia, Dawn Timoney has much more to share with you all. She can talk to you more about this situation there and how Gateway Shopping Center is working to make sure you shoppers, you consumers, still feel safe. Now, another story that I want to walk through with you all, this pertains to a Pennsylvania trooper who has admitted, he said he was guilty of a pretty heinous, honestly just gross crime. So they say that this Pennsylvania State Police corporal out in Montgomery County has pleaded guilty to multiple pornography related charges. And when you hear what he's doing, it may make your jaw fall on the ground. They say that he was using a work device. No, that's not his photo. Let's take that down. Sorry, that's another individual that you're taking a look at there. We don't have any video of this one, you guys, so I'm just going to walk you all through it. But this trooper, they say that he was using his work device to create AI-generated porn and was somehow found out. They also say he possessed child sexual abuse material and so much more. So the person that we're talking about here, and I'm only going to name him because he did go forward and plead guilty, Stephen Kamnick. Now, again, he is, was a Pennsylvania State Police corporal. Today, he pleaded guilty to more than a dozen pornography charges that included child porn and using his work computer or other work computers to create that AI-generated sexual content. So very interesting story that we are listening to there. Now, he has been suspended without pay. He will also be sentenced on July 8th. So that is a big update that we've got for you all there. Now, as we do continue to keep up to date with everything that's happening with Iran, I want to let you listen in. The Pentagon had a briefing today. They spoke to the press answering questions. So you're going to hear from Pete Hegseth and you're going to hear from General Dan Kane. Let's get that in for you guys.
Alexandra Ingersoll, One America News. First of all, thank you to our troops. What role is our military playing in escorting vessels through the Strait of Hormuz at this point? And the president said on Truth Social that the U.S. will be hanging around to make sure everything goes well. Obviously, Mr. Secretary, you just mentioned, we know the scars from hanging around in Iraq for decades. But what does that entail in terms of our military presence at this juncture?
Yeah, we'll be hanging around. We're not going anywhere. We're going to make sure Iran complies with this ceasefire and then ultimately comes to the table and makes a deal. So we'll stay put, stay ready, stay vigilant. As the chairman laid out, our troops are prepared to defend, prepared to go on offense, prepared to restart at a moment's notice with whatever target package would be needed in order to ensure that Iran complies. As far as the Strait, you saw the initial agreement that was struck, which is Iran's letting ships go through. So they'll be that will be happening. They will be sailing, and ultimately, as the president, I mean, we've done an incredible job militarily inside the Strait of Hormuz. What Admiral Cooper, I failed to mention Admiral Cooper's name. He's done a phenomenal job along with everybody at AFCENT and ABCENT and ARCENT and all the components down there, laying the groundwork for Iran. Iran doesn't have the same ability to defend it the way they did before, and so as the president has pointed out to the rest of the world, we barely get any of our energy out of the Strait. Just a tiny fraction. It's time for the rest of the world to step up and ensure that that stays open after President Trump and the War Department brought Iran to the place where they are voluntarily opening it right now, as was announced last night. Yes, Jerry.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you both for the update. President Trump posted on Truth Social this morning that there has been a very productive regime change in Iran, and that there will be no enrichment of uranium, and the U.S. will work with Iran to dig up and remove the deeply buried nuclear dust. So I just have two questions here. So both you, Mr. Secretary, and the President have referred to a new regime in Iran. So is this not the regime that was at war with us for 47 years? And what do we think of when we're saying that this is a new regime? What are we thinking and what are we saying there? And then my second question is, with any future deal with Iran, is their handing over of all of their enriched uranium, and they're promising not to enrich any future uranium, a non-negotiable for the U.S.?
Well, it's always been non-negotiable that they won't have nuclear capabilities. And so right now it's buried and we're watching it. We know exactly what they have, and they know that. And they will either give it to us, which the president has laid out. They'll give it to us voluntarily. We'll get it. We'll take it out. Or if we have to do something else ourselves, like we did in Midnight Hammer or something like that, we reserve that opportunity. But what's clear, what the new Iranian regime knows, is they'll never have a nuclear weapon or the capability to get a path to one. As far as the new regime, you heard the list that I read. It's a new group of people who've seen the full capability of the United States military and has a new calculus about what it means to negotiate with us, hence why they came to the table wanting a ceasefire and the shooting to stop. So this new regime, which the regime has been changed, has a different interaction with the U.S. Right here.
Mr. Secretary, thank you.
Oh,
of course.
I was going in front right here.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary and General Kane. Mary Margaret with the Daily Wire. 2 questions. Iran has said that safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible in coordination with Iran's armed forces and, quote, technical limitations. What do you believe that means? And then we've also heard reports that Iran has continued striking targets well into this morning. At what point are we beyond a grace period? Are we giving them a grace period? Is there a miscommunication there? What's going on with that?
What we know is that Iran is going to say a lot of things. A lot of people are going to say a lot of things, claim a lot of things. What has been agreed to, what's been stated, is the strait is open. Our military is watching. I'm sure their military is watching, but commerce will flow. And that's what you saw the markets react to, is that reality. As far as shooting, that we were monitoring it last night in real time. Of course we are. Iran would be wise to find a way to get the carrier pigeon to their troops out in remote locations to know not to shoot any longer one-way attacks or missiles, because it takes time sometimes for ceasefires to take hold. We're watching it. We're prepared if necessary, but we hope and believe that it'll hold. Yes.
Thank you, Secretary.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Why are you so rude? Just wait. I'm calling on people.
Thank you, Secretary Hudson. Yesterday in the President's Truth Social, he threatened to wipe out a civilization. That statement elicited a huge response in America. If Iran did not come to the table and make a deal yesterday by the deadline, was the President really prepared to wipe out Iran entirely?
Like I said, we had a target set, locked and loaded, of infrastructure, bridges, power plants. Remember, this is a terror regime. The military regime used all of these things for dual use to fund their military, to fund their terror campaigns. We had a lot of legitimate targets. They knew exactly the scope of what we were capable of. We hit some military targets on Karg, which is a bit of a signal. They can't defend it. And so Iran ultimately understood their ability, their future, to produce, to generate power, to fuel their terrorist regime was in our hands, was in President Trump's hands. That's why they came to the table. He ultimately said, we can take it all from you. Your ability to export energy will be taken away. And the United States military has the ability to strike those things with impunity. That type of threat is what brought them to the place where they effectively say, hey, okay, we want to cut this deal. Yes, right here.
Good morning, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chairman. David Zier, Real America's Voice. During the ceasefire, what do we do when we see Iran rearming, regrouping, repositioning weapon systems and air defenses? And also, have we confirmed the specific model type of air defense or man pads that took down our F-15, and is it still a threat for our patrols?
We're still working through the specific details around that particular shoot down. And the crews, when they normally return, go through a debriefing process along with the other members of that flight that were out there. And they'll go back, as they always do, and forensically look at what are the tactical lessons learned. Did we sense or see something? Could we have done something different? We do that, as I mentioned in a prior press conference, every single time we take any loss like that, so that we become a quick learning organization. On the other part of your question around the movement of Iranian military forces. U.S. CENTCOM will continue to monitor that situation. They will continue to have a series of response options, and if need be, will come to the Secretary and to the President for guidance and be prepared to do the things that they're ordered to do so against valid military targets in accordance with the normal procedures that we have.
I would just note, it's a good question. The more Iran moves forces, the more they emplace forces, the more easily targetable they are for us right now. Remember, we're able to look, we're able to see, we're able to sense. We know so if they try to preposition, they're just creating riper military targets for us to strike should they make the wrong decision at the table. Right here.
Mr. Secretary, Louis Martinez with ABC News. First, a question to General Kane, sir. In your personal opinion, were the risks of the Strait of Hormuz being closed because of the conflict, were they mitigated early enough in part of the decision-making process to lead up to the decision to take action against Iran? And in your opinion, is Iran in control of the Strait of Hormuz? We just heard the Secretary say that Iran is letting them ships through, which would imply that potentially it's not just. The Secretary also said that the U.S. That the strait is open. You did say that, sir. But in your opinion, sir, how can the U.S. ensure safe passage? Mr. Secretary, can you say today that the United States achieved, the administration achieved the military goals that you've constantly delineated? But strategically, is that a victory because of that? And also, you said earlier that the president chose mercy. But you yourself had said 3 weeks ago that we will give no quarter to Iranian troops. How do you correlate those two? And do you think that your comments may have put American troops at risk?
No. I try to be nice up here, but you did listen to what I said, right? I laid out the objectives. We believe we've accomplished them, and it's a historic military victory. And President Trump has the option as the commander-in-chief to compel an adversary to the table, which is precisely what he did. And at the end, he chose to say, you know what, I'd rather talk to you at the table than obliterate your capability to export oil and fund your terror regime. So he did make that choice. That was his choice. He was a president of peace, and he's been willing to make those really tough calls that the American people elected him to do. Nothing we've done, not a single thing we've done, this is a typical, of course it's ABC, not a single thing we've done has put an American troop in more of a harm's way. We've only set our troops up to harm Iranian military capabilities, which they've done to devastating fashion and to great success. Mr. Chairman, you had a part of that
There's a
question.
lot in that question. I'd love to take that offline and answer it, but I'm struggling to find exactly what your question was, and that's probably me, not you. Okay, all right. Sorry about that.
Mr. Chairman, it was an indictment framed as a question, so you're forgiven for not understanding. Go ahead, please. No, you've had your chance. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much.
I believe so, based on the diplomatic negotiation. So I believe so. I believe so. Yeah, sorry.
Mr. Kurd or Rahim Rashidi from Kurdistan. I'm representative Kurdistan TV and Kurdistan 24 today. I have two questions. Mr. Secretary, will your forces stay in the region and continue to defend and protect your allies and take the responsibility for their security? Second question is, as you mentioned many times, that you have full control of Iran airspace. Do you still have this control or not?
Well, thank you for the question. The chairman mentioned the UAE and Bahrain and Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, who have fought shoulder to shoulder with us, especially in defense of our facilities, of our people, of their facilities, and we appreciate that. So that coordination, of course, will continue. And then when it comes to the skies over Iran, I would point to Exhibit A and Exhibit B, 7 hours in the day, 7 hours at night. If any foreign adversary had attempted to do the same over our soil, they would have no ability to do so. Will they have a system here or there? Maybe. Do they have a network, a system that's capable of defending their skies? No, they don't. It's, as the chairman laid out, that's been dismantled, degraded, and destroyed. So It's a slight distinction, but an important one. Yes, right here.
Iran
Go ahead.
General George in the middle of a war.
Excuse me. You got a question? Go ahead. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Two questions actually for you. So during this time, is the president still? Are you still encouraging civilians to rise up against the regime, or are they satisfied with this new regime change, or is this two-week period to kind of see where that leads? Also, talked about the enriched uranium going in there. Would that require special forces or other military, our service members? Who would be basically going in there and trusted to going in there to get that uranium out?
Mm-hmm. Again, on the uranium, we're watching it. We know what they have, and they will give it up, and we'll get it, and we'll take it. If we have to, we can do it in any means necessary. So that's something the president is going to solve for. We already have Midnight Hammer with the place we put them in, and the reason it's in the situation where it is. The second one was about the people. Listen, I would love to see the Iranian people take advantage of this opportunity. They have been oppressed by the previous regime, and they'll have a new opportunity with this regime. That remains to be seen. That was not our objective in this effort, but they're brave people. Horrible things have been done to them by the previous regime. Tens of thousands targeted and killed and assassinated in a way the government never should. And we wish them the best, absolutely. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
All right, you guys, we were able to listen in for a little bit there at that press conference where they answered questions from the media, and I saw you guys talking to us in our live chat. Somebody asked when was this recorded. It was earlier this morning, but I wanted to make sure that we touched base on what exactly they said as it pertains to this conflict that we've got going on with Iran, including that ceasefire deal and what it could mean for this next 2 weeks that we're supposed to be experiencing a little peace from Iran. Now, I'm seeing out of the corner of my eye, every now and again, we get to dip into Orion, which is the spacecraft that is carrying the 4 brave astronauts who are making their way back to Earth right now. We know that they had a mission to and around the moon. They successfully completed that, actually going further than any man has ever gone in deep space. So pretty cool. We know Reed Wiseman's on the ship, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen. Now, right now, we can take a look inside Master Control. That's the room where they talk to the astronauts. Let's see if we can put that volume up, because again, every now and again, we actually get to look inside Orion, where you'll see the astronauts hanging out with anti-gravity, so they're actually floating and talking back. Right now,
they also
we can hear them.
The crew
Let's
hatch,
take this
docking mechanisms, vehicle pyrotechnic devices, parachutes, and water uprighting systems. And then next to the MPO console is FAO, which is the Flight Activities Officer. They are responsible for integrating and managing onboard activities. They're also responsible for managing the transfer of procedures, email, and other information between the crew and the ground. Behind the MPO console in the back left is ECOM, which is the Emergency Environmental and Consumables Manager, and they're responsible for internal thermal control systems, air and water supply, and purification systems. And they also manage emergency response. Those are just a handful of the positions that are here in the flight control room, and all of these teams also have a back room supporting them throughout the mission.
All right, you guys, so again, as I mentioned, every now and again, we're able to see inside the mission control room, and then every now and again, we're able to see inside of Orion. That is the spacecraft that has been carrying out the Artemis 2 mission. Now, in about 2 days, we are expecting splashdown right around the Pacific Ocean. They actually have a whole base set up expecting to receive the Orion when it comes back down to Earth. It's going to be a very big moment for us as we see those 4 astronauts emerge for the very first time, hopefully getting to talk to us pretty soon after that about their experiences out there in space. But of course, they have been talking to us in real time. Actually, NASA just posted something on their Instagram page. Let's take a look at it. This was about an hour ago. They say the Artemis 2 crew took this photograph of the Earthrise when Earth appears to rise from behind the lunar horizon as the crew flew around the far side of the moon on April 6, 2026, so just about 2 days ago. In this view, Earth appears as a crescent with only the right-facing edge illuminated. The moon is on the right. The image is reminiscent of the iconic Earthrise image captured by Apollo 8 astronaut Bill Anders in 1968. Like I said, we're making history, you guys, during the first ever crewed spacecraft to orbit the moon. All right, so in addition to this, they also got to hear from Christina Cook. I want to see if we can play that for you guys. This will be my first time listening into it as well as what she had to say.
For me, looking back at Earth, was that I found myself noticing not only the beauty of the Earth, but how much blackness there was around it, and how it just made it even more special. It truly emphasized how alike we are, how the same thing keeps every single person on planet Earth alive. We evolved on the same planet. We have some shared things about how we love and live that are just universal, and the specialness and preciousness of that really is emphasized when you notice how much else there is around it. The thing that changed for me looking back at Earth was that I found
basically what she's been learning out there, what have been some of the coolest things that she has gathered from this mission, and for her to hear that it was just seeing how, I guess, singular Earth is out there in space, just surrounded by so much darkness, so much blackness, as she said, but that it made it feel so much more special to be a human who's alive on Earth. Pretty cool stuff. And like I said, I would just love to pick their brains when they do get back down here on Earth. They've been taking a lot of pictures, spending a lot of time together, fixing toilets. Actually, we've got a live look back inside the spacecraft. Let's see if we can pull that up for you guys. Okay, so you're seeing Victor, you're seeing Christina, who we just heard from. You're also seeing some of the other crew members like Jeremy and Reed. Is there any audio coming from this? Not yet. Okay. But it looks like they're talking to each other. But now you can see what they're actually doing as they float around out there in space, again, making their way back to Earth. This is pretty cool stuff, you guys. I'm trying to figure out what it is they're doing other than talking to each other.
This is Artemis Mission Control. Following that
Okay,
brief
maybe we'll
data
get some
rate
insight.
change, we now have those live views back of the crew inside the Orion spacecraft. Again, they're working through some stowage activities to start preparing for re-entry prep. They will do a lot of their re-entry preparations tomorrow when they will be reconfiguring the cabin to prepare for splashdown, and they will also be studying their entry procedures. In addition to stowing some of their equipment, they will also be installing their seats to ensure all items are secured for re-entry.
If they don't fire up again, I'll take it back. All right, so we got some more insight onto what we were taking a look at here. They said that they're preparing for their mission back to Earth. And apparently the image had been coming in and out. The connection, obviously, in deep space is not that great. But we are able to see what it is they're doing inside of Orion. And I see at the very top of their screen, they've got a banner for America 250, which is a very big deal, especially for us here in Pennsylvania. You know, we are celebrating the birthday of America, how we all came to be the nation that we know and love today. And there are going to be so many celebrations even in our neck of the woods, but it's really cool to see that they're also celebrating out there in space. Pretty cool stuff. All right, you guys, when we come back, you know, every night I gotta ask you a question as part of my segment called What You Think. This one apparently got a couple of you riled up. We'll be talking about it when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. We've got Jake Leonard back up to the desk with us.
Thank you.
Yes, but you can only mean one thing. We want to know what you think. So our question of the night, it gets a little personal, so bear with us. But if you decide, you know, you're married and you decide, I'm just not feeling the love anymore. I feel like we should go our separate ways, but you have kids. Do you wait for them to get out of the house, or do you call it quits when you feel like you need to call it quits? What do you think?
Right, so we asked the viewers, fox29.com/GoVote, always under the Fox Local tab. So we said, would you stay in an unhappy marriage for the sake of the kids? And you know what? Honestly, I feel like this is pretty close. I know, I need to be happy is a little bit in the lead at 60%. But yes, I put them first is at 40%. Earlier, I was watching the numbers. At one point, it was 50-50. So people seem to be pretty divided on this.
Okay, but what are they actually saying, though?
People are being really wise in our comments, actually. One person said, growing is understanding that staying in an unhappy marriage isn't for the kids.
Whew, okay, preach.
Yep. Someone else said, I tried, it didn't work. Now I'm divorced, happy, and so are my kids.
First of all, good for you.
Yeah.
I don't condone divorce, but if you feel like that's what you need to do, and she says she is happier and the kids are, I mean, good for you.
Yeah. You know, I feel like this is something that people are really passionate about. A lot of people have had, you know, experiences, maybe a relationship they really wanted to try to make work because of the kids, but you just can't force it.
Yeah.
So
that's what people are saying. I asked as well on Instagram, but honestly, the Facebook comments definitely got the job done. But someone says honesty is always the best policy, which, you know, makes sense. They say if you're not feeling it, you should definitely say something. Another person says communication is key. Don't blindside your partner. 100%. Let's talk. We should both know what's coming. Be grown about this.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was in conjunction with, you know, something that I got from Reddit, and that's actually where this question came from. I wanted to know if the people out there, there was this dad, he says that he decided to wait till the kids went off to college, but that same week decided to call it quits since the wife was blindsided. So there was that on that. But you know, thank you for joining us and giving us this question. You guys, we have to get on out of here. I'm Judea Murray. This is Jake Leonard. Thanks for watching Philadelphia Live. The news continues at 10, so don't go anywhere.